will not be tolerated. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News, just posting his first public comment on yesterday's firebomb attack in Boulder, Colorado. President Trump calls it horrific and says his heart goes out to the victims, also pledging to prosecute acts of terrorism and keep borders secure while criticizing the previous administration's border policies. Immigration sources say the suspect in Colorado overstayed a visa.
There are charges pending against 45-year-old Mohammed Sabri Solomon, the Egyptian man accused of what the FBI is calling a terror attack in Boulder, Colorado. At the March for Hostages Sunday, one of those is a murder charge, though there have been no announcements made of a fatality connected to the attack. Other charges include crimes against elderly persons, crimes using incendiary devices, and assault.
Fox's Eben Brown, 8 people calling for the release of Israeli hostages were injured in the attack, some with burns. A probable cause affidavit just filed shows a federal hate crime charge in the case. Russian state media reporting that negotiators have given Ukraine 2 proposed options for a ceasefire, including one calling for Ukraine to pull out of several areas Russia claims as its own. This following a round of peace talks in Turkey, where the 2 sides agreed to swap some prisoners of war and dead soldiers. A runway reopening 2 weeks ahead of schedule at New Jersey's Newark Airport after a more than $120 million renovation. That runway closed in March for maintenance,
including repaving and also improving the lighting and the drainage. But it left this airport already plagued with severe delays and cancellations, with just 2 operating runways. That for an airport that served 49 million travelers last year.
Fox Business's Lauren Simonetti at Newark Liberty. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy calls the reopening a key milestone on the path to further reducing congestion and enhancing safety. America is listening to Fox News.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Tons of sunshine across St. Louis on this Monday afternoon. It's a warm one, 88 for the high, but you have to expect that this time of year. Going into summertime tonight, partly cloudy, 80s this evening, 67 for the low. Tuesday, partly sunny, breezy. It's a little warmer. It's a little more humid. 91 on Tuesday with developing showers and thunderstorms late Tuesday night, continuing Wednesday and Thursday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Stewart's American Mortgage and the Bagel Loan, waiting for your phone call. Why haven't you made it yet? You can text it as well at 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Call my friend Stewie and ask him about how a Bagel Loan can help you. You need to make this phone call to ensure that when you go through your mortgage acquisition, you're buying a new home, maybe you need to do a refinance, cash out. I'm talking to him right now about a situation where I might need some access to some capital to make a land purchase. I talked to Stewie. He's my number one go-to to make sure I'm making the smart money decision, and he can be yours as well. He's going to treat you exactly the same, and the number that I call and text Stewie on is the same number I'm giving you right now. 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. With that mortgage, that new mortgage you're going to get, brand new or refinance, you are going to pay nothing in closing costs. A huge savings for you at 314-324-4440. Google the Bagel Loan, NMLS number 226715.
Hey, it's Mark Cox. Now is a great time to be a home seller in the St. Louis market. Home values are up an average of 2.2% year over year, which means you can take advantage of high prices in a low inventory market. But you should act fast. Start by talking to St. Louis real estate expert Gloria Liu, Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. While the average realtor sells 4 to 5 homes a year, Gloria has sold nearly 400 homes in the last 2. Plus, Gloria sells faster and for more money. Gloria is so confident she'll guarantee to sell your home at a price acceptable to you, or Gloria will buy it. It may seem like a good idea to use that discount realtor or that friend who sells a few homes a year. It could literally cost you thousands of dollars. Worse, your home may not even sell. My advice, call Gloria Lou today at 314-325-6888 or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. That's GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
Cash for Clunkers is back. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is paying cash for your clunkers now. They'll haul away your old garage door and give you instant credit towards a new insulated door. $200 for the first garage door and $100 for each additional door. Cash in your old entry door too. It's Cash for Clunkers now at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Convenient, free, in-home estimates. Schedule online at overheaddoorstlouis.com or call 314-781-5200.
Is thinning hair or receding hairline making you self-conscious? Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Oh, yeah, it is the moment you have been waiting for.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom.
Annie's out. Ryan and Brad are in.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
This is the Manny Fry Show.
And I'm Ryan Recker, filling in for Annie Fry. Brad, thank you for having me today.
Always good to have you, Ryan.
You know, I'm looking at the YouTube video. There's something new there. The comments are now on the YouTube page.
Yeah, they just added that to our streaming software where I can click a little switch and it'll throw up the comments, and the comments will then go on there. And I thought just because I'm on this side of the if you're listening, I'm on the right side of the screen, and that's where the comments pop up. So I figured it was more important that I get blocked out and Ryan's picture is clear than Ryan get blocked out and my picture is clear.
Yeah, you want to see this moneymaker here, which is my
moneymaker.
face. Yeah, but also, if you think about it, when the different comments of the YouTube page are scrolling up on the side, it's like it's on your shirt. So someone could hypothetically create a custom shirt for you just by commenting on the YouTube channel today.
Yeah, I would wear that shirt too.
So go into the YouTube page. You can see the brand new addition to it. And while you're there, you should probably vote in the YouTube poll. Brad, what is it this time around?
What's your take on AI and the future? We got 3 options here for you. We want to know if you're excited about it, if you're cautiously optimistic, or if it scares you. There's a lot of AI news today, so.
You remember it was Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer from Saturday Night Live. Phil Hartman played it.
Yeah.
Your world frightens and confuses me. AI, in a way, is kind of like that. I think there's so many legal questions that we haven't caught up to yet that it's going to be a wild ride while that happens.
Well, yeah, and it's going to move so fast, it's going to be really hard to catch up with those things legally.
Right. So go vote in the YouTube poll now, and we'll talk about that later in the show, too. 2 big stories that are going on. And, you know, I think the Colorado firebomb story is really interesting to me. Also, what's going on in Ukraine, where what they call it's Russia's Pearl Harbor, which I think is a little insensitive and not a good comparison. But I think Drudge Report put that as their headline, and a lot of different blogs are putting that as their headline. So on the Colorado firebomb story, I'm sure you've seen the video of the guy without a shirt yelling at people as they're trying to calm this guy down after he threw what were described as Molotov cocktails at people. Did you hear the descriptions of people that were there? It was like it was so hot, the skin was melting off of these people's legs. Did you hear that account?
No.
It was terrifying.
No.
So what happened is someone that was here in the country overstayed their visa, so they were here illegally. They're from Egypt, a 45-year-old man, terrorist suspect described as Mohammed Sabri Solomon. Originally entered the country through Los Angeles in 2022. The visa said he could have stayed to work here through 23, overstayed the visa, was here illegally after expired in March. So the videos are online, and he's got like this kind of short gray hair. He's wearing sunglasses, just regular jeans, shoes, belt, and no shirt. And it looks like almost spray bottles, or what would be the way I would describe it is if you go to the grocery store and you buy those orange juice bottles, they're like there's a certain type of shape to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's holding these two things and he's yelling, rambling, crazy things at people who are like, "What are you doing, man?" And it's pretty terrifying to think. What was it? 4 people he got through these bombs. I think we have a clip here from CNN. Maybe we should play some of that, kind of get a scene setter.
Suspect this morning, John. Again, as you said, his name is Mohammed Sabri Solomon. He, according to the Department of Homeland Security, this is from the Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs, Trisha McLaughlin. He entered the country in August 2022 on a B-2 visa that expired in February 2023. He filed for asylum in September of 2022. Sources are telling CNN's John Miller that he had previously applied for asylum in 2005. We know that the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, had previously tweeted that he had overstayed a visa and was in the country illegally. John, there are many more questions about how long he had planned this attack, why he planned this attack, and how he was able to actually carry it out.
Well, I mean, it looks pretty simple. He showed up to a public event where there were Jewish people, and he started firebombing elderly Jewish people in this crowd. That's what his plan was, and it doesn't seem like it was all that well. There wasn't a much that you would have to do to pull something like this off, other than be a homicidal lunatic. So other people are writing online. Terror attack was committed in Boulder, Colorado, by an illegal alien. He was granted a tourist visa by the Biden administration, then illegally overstayed. In response, the Biden administration gave him a work permit. Suicidal migration must be reversed, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller wrote on X. And I saw on CNN they were upset that people were jumping to conclusions about this guy. Do you really have to go out on a limb to understand what may have been going down at this march? So in Boulder, Colorado, was basically a march against these terrorists, Hamas organization that are holding hostages and continued to commit acts of terrorism. As they march against terrorism in this Hamas organization, you had someone out there that is pro-Palestinian and looks at the Jews of this country as being in compliance with the state of Israel being a terrorist state. Thus, he has the authority to go out and commit these type of acts for Palestine. It's absolutely insanity. And this is, I think, one of the major reasons, and I'm sure he'll become a major talking point of why the Trump administration will continue with these deportations, because people that overstay visas and people that are here illegally and all of these different people that are ordered to leave the country and don't leave have the potential to grow hostile to the United States of America, and in some cases act out like this. And
I mean, they might be hostile as they come in. Why? I mean,
probably.
If you've got malice towards the United States and you know that you can come in here, you can claim asylum, you don't really have to undergo that much scrutiny, you can definitely slide in under the lax border control policies and under the lax, what did they call it, asylum policies of the United States under the Biden administration, and get in here and then just start planning bad things. This is a small-scale example of something that, for months and years we've been talking about on this show, about how there's a danger that there are terrorists getting into the United States under Joe Biden's border policy.
Well, CNN would say don't jump to conclusions and call him a terrorist.
I mean, if you've got him on tape screaming about, free Palestine and stuff like that, you're not really...
And throwing bombs at people.
Yeah, you're not really jumping to conclusions.
No, let's just... I think it was what was CNN's clip? Was it Wolf Blitzer? It's something along the lines of, I can't believe how quick the FBI came out to talk about this as domestic terrorism. Weren't they a little premature to use that T word, terrorism? Isn't that something? I think terrorism might be broad enough where you can include people that are attacking people based on their ethnicity, or in this case, they were just out there marching against terrorism, a terrorist organization. That might constitute terrorism.
Yeah.
CNN. But that's one of the big stories that we're following. The other story, and this is the other big one, military commentators and NBC News called this a strike against Russia as Pearl Harbor. Now, I understand that we're pretty far removed from World War II, but if you go back and there's not a lot of World War II vets that are still alive. I understand that. They're few and far between because just based on their age. But I will tell you this, if you try to compare a military strike against these airplanes that were sitting in a hangar in Russia versus Pearl Harbor surprise attack, which, by the way, Ukraine and Russia are in a war right now.
Mm-hmm.
We were not in a war with Japan, and they came in this sneak attack. I would say that World War II vet would have the legal right to punch you in the nose and with zero repercussion because they would be right to do that. So I'm a little bit leery to call this Russia's Pearl Harbor, but still, did you see the video online of these drones just going through, just attacking these parked planes that are on the hangar runway? It was pretty amazing to see that video, I gotta say.
Yeah. I mean, like, you look at it and you pointed out some great observations there that Russia and Ukraine have been at war for quite some time now. And I think the only comparison you can make to Pearl Harbor is the devastation that was wrought on Russia's Air Force. So these bombers were really important to Russia, and a good chunk of them, a large percentage of them, and most of them aren't, is my understanding, aren't even being rebuilt. They're not in current manufacturing. So they lost, up to like 10% of their bomber fleet, of their long-range bombing capabilities has just been hobbled. You take that and you compare that to what the Japanese did to the United States Pacific Fleet, and they basically put most of the Pacific Fleet on the bottom of Pearl Harbor. That's that from a tactical perspective, that's the only comparison you can make. Everything else, you're like, this is nothing like that. It's not the same thing.
So some military commentators and pro-Russian bloggers have called it the country's Pearl Harbor, a reference to the attack in 1941. It came Sunday, a day before the latest round of direct peace talks between Ukraine and Russia on Monday. So what does that say when it comes to the status of those peace talks? I think that when you had Putin that has really showed zero interest in trying to end this conflict, I think Ukraine got a little bit like, all right, we know where this is going. So maybe a little bit of force will show that we're not going to be playing much longer. And do you think they provoked Russia into doing something in the near future? Do you think now they're just trying to strategize their next counterattack and things are going to get really bad?
Man, that's wild to think about because what are they currently in Turkey now negotiating peace? And, I don't know. There's so much of this that Russia has to save face. They have to respond to this. They have to do something. And I don't know if this makes it better or worse or what, but I don't know. I'm looking at this going, okay, well, maybe this is something where Russia feels the sting and it causes them to rethink. Maybe we do want peace, but they can't just say, okay, now that you racked us pretty good, we gotta take a break here and sue for peace, because then that makes Russia look weak, and Russia can't look weak. So I don't know what this does.
I'll tell you, all things considered, the way it sounds like this happened, so their drones were snuck into the country, excuse me, and then deployed. And that is quite the mission. We've seen some really amazing missions in modern times. Probably the last one that really got me, like reading the details, was the pager bombing of those terrorists.
Yeah.
That was amazing. In this one, you look at the details of it and think they're pretty amazing too. Zelensky, we had a clip from him. Can we play clip number 2?
Sure.
Europe, together with America, has better weapons than Russia. We also have stronger tactical solutions. Our Operation Spiderweb yesterday proved that. Russia must feel what its losses mean. That is what will push it toward diplomacy. And when Russia takes losses in this war, it's obvious to everyone that Ukraine is the one holding the line, not just for itself, but for all of Europe.
So I think his defense is basically you stand up to the bully, and once you give him a bloody nose, that they know you mean business, so they'll stop bullying you. But we got to also keep in mind this has been going on for years, and there's been a lot of back and forth, so I think the bully already knows that you're going to fight back. When does the bully realize that he's out strength? Is that what the tide changes? Does that cause the bully to be more inclined to fight crazier? And the other part of it is people are worried that the empty threat for the most part of the Russians using nukes could become a lot more of a reality when you start doing things like this. What happens, you think, if a nuke is launched? And what do you think the next thing would happen? Like, do you think the United States would immediately retaliate on behalf of Ukraine? And do you think the whole world would then realize it's open season on Russia, or do you think they would try to de-escalate?
Oh, I think they try to de-escalate. I think they got to try to bring it back. But I think that what you'll see is everybody on high alert, DEFCON, whatever it is, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever the higher number is. I think they'll be toward the end of that. They will have submarines off the coast. Russia. I mean, you'll be on the brink of nuclear war if they do that. But
Yeah,
they will
and everyone
want to
says that.
de-escalate.
Let me put this, because these rumors kind of came out there, and this is all 100% speculation. So I need to put a big asterisk on this. Okay, do you think that the answer is what they maybe said a year ago, which is you're going to find world leaders starting to advocate for the assassination of Putin? You remember when those talks came out maybe about a year ago? There was some, and I can't remember who, if it was like Lindsey Graham, but there was, American politicians that speculated on this too. Do you think that is what ends this war, Putin no longer being in charge?
Man, I don't know.
It's a crazy time.
I struggle. Like, I want to see an end to this war, and I struggle to see what brings about that end. I get the idea that you want less killing. I know that I don't want to see American boots on the ground. I don't want to see European boots on the ground, because I think European boots on the ground in Ukraine is the same thing as American boots on the ground. Especially with NATO and whatever that article is, that if one gets attacked, they all get attacked. I think that any sort of military escalation in that matter, that worries me that would lead to like a wider and broader conflict between Iran and Russia, and then China maybe getting sucked into it and all this other stuff. Or if we get wrapped up in that, does China decide, hey, now's the time to take Taiwan, and then they go and they do their own thing in Taiwan? Not necessarily to help Russia, but use Russia as a pawn so they can accomplish their own military goals. There's so many things like that, and it's like, so, but at the same time, like to negotiate a peace, you've got to have some sort of position of strength or power, and neither side really has that in Ukraine right now. So how do you get a leg up without escalating? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's a bad situation.
Yep. I know we have Fox News Radio, Capitol Hill, and White House correspondent Ryan Schmelz coming up after the break. That sounds pretty good, right?
Yep.
Do you know what we're talking to Ryan about?
Yeah, they're working. The White House and Congress are working together to codify those Doge cuts. So we're going to put those into law.
All right, let's do this. We're going to check in with him. And we also have the Monday Roundup coming up later this hour, too. I'm Ryan Recker, fill in. And make sure to go vote in the YouTube poll. What's your take on AI and its future? Go vote on that now. We'll get the results by the end of the show. 97.1 FM Talk.
White-tailed buck deer, munching on clover, red-tailed hawk.
Follow Annie on X at Annie Fry Show.
Chubby old groundhog.
If it's time to put the deck on your home of your dreams, and you want to make sure you do it where you're going to get, good quality and good value for your money, call Artistic Decks, 314-280-0821. That's 314-280-0821. You can learn about Artistic Decks on their website at artisticdecks.net. Book now and get your deck built before the summer fully sets in. With a small down payment, you get on the schedule. Reach out to Artistic Decks and learn about the different type of customizable, innovative ways that you can implement the deck of your dreams on the back of your home. Think about sipping sweet tea and listening to the birds of the air or watching the ladybugs at night from the comfort of your back deck. This new living space that you've added to your home where you haven't sacrificed quality or value for the experience. 314-280-0821. 314-280-0821. Call Artistic Decks online at artisticdecks.net.
If it's time for new windows, there's only one place to call. That is Window World. Mark Cox here. Call my friends at Window World at 314-993-1800 for your free estimate today. If you have any questions, they'll be glad to send someone out to explain all of it to you. You can even schedule right online at windowworldstl.com. You know, there's a lot of high-interest financing out there, but here's what Window World's doing. Right now, they're offering 18 up to 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. You can't beat that. You also get a lifetime warranty that covers all of the parts, the glass breakage, and labor. Who else stands behind their product like that? Over half the appointments Window World will set this year are from previous customers or referrals from those customers. That is a testimony to their customer service, their quality, and their commitment to creating loyal customers. That's what you get with Window World. Call them at 314-993-1800, windowworldstl.com.
You've heard me talking about infinite vitality, and I want to make sure that you know from the top here that if you mention my name, Annie, or the Annie Fry Show, when you call Infinite Vitality, you can access a $50 credit towards hormone replacement therapy and weight loss services. The number to Infinite Vitality is 618-486-1888. 618-486-1888. Well, that's how you contact them, but what are you contacting Infinite Vitality for? Well, for me, it was that fatigue that sets in, the sluggishness throughout the day, going to the gym, working out, lifting weights, and not really feeling like I ever get to see the results of the effort that I'm putting in, and generally just feeling like I'm not as energetic. I don't have the mojo, you might say, that I used to have before. I want it back, and Infinite Vitality is giving it back to me. I'm seeing them for hormone replacement therapy. I've had IV therapies done there as well. There is a whole menu of things that can help you preserve your Infinite Vitality when you call 618-486-1888 and mention my name to save. Infinite-Vitality.com.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends at Triton Exteriors. Not sure if you've noticed, but the storms seem to be especially bad this spring. If you had James Hardy Smart Siding, you wouldn't have to worry about it. It's not going to be damaged like in the 314-day storm. So we do roofing, siding, gutters, fences. We're always going to be the middle bid. We're never going to cut corners. We're never going to take advantage of you. Call 314-717-1159 or triton-stl.com.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is celebrating 55 years of residential and commercial service, maintenance, and installation of heating and cooling systems. Get in your comfort zone. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
Used to keep it cool, used to be a fool, all about the bounce in my step. Watch it on the news, what you gonna do? I could hit refresh and forget. Used to keep it cool. Should I keep it light, stay out of the fight? No one's gonna listen to me. If I write a song, preach.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show.
Welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker filling in for Annie Fry. Manny Fry for the next couple of days. Joining us now is a Fox News Radio Capitol Hill and White House correspondent, Ryan Schmelz. Thank you so much for joining us here in St. Louis.
Always great to be on in St. Louis. How are you?
Doing great. It's a lot of talk about money right now and what the United States government doesn't have but pretends to have. So now that this big, beautiful bill moved out of the House, the Senate are going to be looking over this, and there's a lot to look over. So what do you think is going to happen next? And do you think there's going to be a lot of changes to this by the time the Senate's done with it?
There certainly could be a lot of changes. At least that's what the senators have told us to expect. They've said to expect significant changes from the House version of the bill. I think a lot of that could include changes to Medicaid, but I think a lot of it could go on to what they're doing with the spending numbers, or even could be impacted by maybe some of the taxes that they're talking about as well. So there's a lot of different ways in which we could see some significant changes from the Senate too.
Yeah, and I think what you hear, at least from Republican leadership right now, is that if you don't pass this, you're going to get the biggest tax increase of your life, which is certainly not great. So I think the American people, on one hand, don't want to be personally held responsible for them not being able to get a deal together. But at the same time, they're tired of this deficit going up higher, higher, and higher and higher. So how do you think they find that balance between the House and the Senate when you have not as much of a majority in the Senate, and you're going to have to convince a lot of these other Republicans to get on board that don't necessarily want to get on board the way it is?
Well, if you actually look at the margins, you might actually argue the majority is even bigger in the Senate than it is the House, and it's a chamber that's only 100 members, where the other one's over 400 members. So I think there is always this level of confidence that things will go smoother in the Senate. They feel there are a lot more team players there, and oftentimes, and I've seen this ever since I got here, going back to the last Congress and going into this Congress, the thought has always been, right when something gets through the House, we don't really have too many concerns about it getting through the Senate, especially if it's something that either has complete Republican unity or if it's something basis. Things could be different this time around. So we'll have to wait and see. And especially when we're watching for somebody like Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, who's been alarming quite a lot on the Medicaid provisions in here and has raised a lot of concerns about them. Though there are things in here he's cool with. He's cool with the extension of Medicaid work requirements. He's cool moving that date up to 2026 as opposed to 2029 for those Medicaid work requirements to kick in compared to where it was before. So there's a number of other things here, though, that we've got to watch for. And I think how they go about dealing with the Medicaid issue and if there's going to be a compromise there, I think that's what we kind of got to watch for now.
I've noticed too, when we got towards the end of last weekend into this weekend, there's been reports from high-ranking Democrats that are saying this is the time you have to push back hard. So I think a lot of the Democrats who, I don't know any of them that are going to vote for this, in the positive at least, this is going to be a Republican thing if it gets through. I think they realize the vulnerability that's going on and some of the infighting that's going on, and they're really taking advantage of that on Capitol Hill because they've been hitting the weekend shows, they've been hitting their local markets, and they've been attacking hard not only Donald Trump, but this bill and some of those Medicare, Medicaid things that you were discussing there. So can you foresee any Democrat getting on board? Is this really all in the Republicans' hands at this point?
I think it's all in the Republicans' hands at this point. There might be some amendments or some changes or some aspects of the bill that some Democrats might vote for. You saw that actually happen on the House side, where one of the specific committees, I believe it was a committee related to natural resources, you had a couple of Democrats vote for their version of the bill, but they voted for the final bill in its totality because you had all those different, the entire bill pretty much put together. But, when you talk about things like an extension of the corporate tax increase, or decrease, I should say, some other aspects of the Trump tax cuts, and of course the Medicaid provisions. Just some of this is a little too far for Democrats to go. And this is how it normally is. The history of reconciliation has always been that usually it's a very partisan process, and it's all about getting all your ducks in a row on your side and not really worrying about what the other party does. I mean, you didn't really see any Republicans come on board with President Biden with the Inflation Reduction Act. You didn't see any Democrats come on board with Republicans when they passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act in 2017. Just the whole 50 vote threshold reconciliation process has always just been a partisan exercise.
Ryan Schmelz, Fox News Radio, Capitol Hill, and White House correspondent. I wanted to go back to what happened at the end of last week with Elon Musk, and it plays into the cuts and things where they're trying to find ways to drop our spending or at least recover some of the things that we shouldn't have spent money on to begin with. Do you think there's going to be a lot of discussion based on the legacy of what was left over from Doge? Meaning, now that Elon Musk has left the scene, do you think the senators are going to still invoke his ideas of where the cuts should be? Or do you think now that he's gone, they're going to move forward and go into a different direction, and it's going to not factor into the discussions that are going in here today?
Well, I think where you're starting to see it go right now is that they're kind of going the legal path that a lot of them had always wanted to go when it comes to some of these cuts, which is the rescissions process. Now, there have been a number of senators, Rand Paul, a couple other ones who've been saying, we want to codify the Doge cuts. Send us a rescissions package. Well, now they have a tool to do that. The reason they've put it off for so long is because they've been dealing with this one big, beautiful bill. And when you send a rescissions package, you have a 45-day timeline to work with, or it goes away. So the White House is finally sending this rescissions package. We're expected to get it tomorrow on the House side. This will have about $9 billion worth of cuts to USAID, NPR, and PBS. So it's a very small first package. In many ways, people are calling this a trial run. But the tool with this and why it's convenient for Republicans is that a rescissions package only needs a simple majority in both chambers. So Republicans feel if they take something that they have unity on, that they can start codifying these Doge cuts. And if this first round of rescissions is successful, and keep in mind, it does have to come from the White House. Legally, it has to come from the White House in order for them to have that 50-vote threshold in the Senate. But if this first round goes well, they believe that this is going to set the stage for codifying more Doge cuts down the road. And if they're able to do that through Congress, then it's going to be very hard for Democrats to challenge this in the courtroom.
Wow. So, Ryan, how long have you been doing this job?
We're coming up on my 3-year anniversary in like 2 months, I believe, in August.
How about that? And does Washington, D.C. change a person? Is it really that weird of a place?
I think you kind of learn some of the technical sides of things, and maybe you have a newfound appreciation for certain people in the position they're put in. Maybe not appreciation's not the right word, but you kind of realize, oh wow, it's not easy to be House Speaker Mike Johnson and to deal with a majority where if you lose 1 or 2 or 3 votes, the bill you're trying to push is sunk. I mean, it's a very hard situation for him to be in, and there's just so many other technical things that go on, and there's a lot of things that get put out there, and you realize, oh wait, I know this isn't true because I can actually show somebody why this isn't true and what actually is the process of this. So learning the whole technical side of DC is a very hard thing, but there are some things that you probably just don't realize until you get here and get to see it up front and in person. And then there's some of the things that you always heard about this place that end up being true. So there's a lot to it.
Where did you come from? What part of the country?
So I was originally in Cleveland, Ohio. That was my last market. I was in Lexington, Kentucky as a weekend anchor there, and I started my career in Odessa, Texas as a weekend weatherman.
You think probably back in the day, man, if I can only get a piece of property and pay for what it would have been in Texas, than over here in DC, everything's so expensive there.
I still feel that way about Cleveland. I mean, housing prices were starting to get rough and starting to go up like they are everywhere. But I mean, just some of you can get like a downtown loft in Cleveland for a nice price, and you get like half the space in DC for double the price of what I was paying for that in Cleveland. So yeah, there are certainly things you notice about the DC prices that are a little rough. That's for sure.
Yeah, I lived in Ohio for a little bit on the Lima side, even smaller than Cleveland.
Yeah.
But we used to come up to go see the Cleveland Indians, what they were called, I guess, at the time. And I went to some Browns games and things like that. And it was always so much fun. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you go to things. So, and you probably were there during the LeBron years, I'm guessing. So that's kind of exciting.
I actually was not. I think I got there right after he left. So I was there. They had just had the MLB All-Star game. And then a COVID happened, so I had to deal with that. But they had some other big events that they landed. They landed the NBA All-Star game around not long after COVID. They had just gotten the NFL draft when I moved there. But what was always fascinating to me being there was that obviously Cleveland is a blue city, a lot of Democrat politicians, but one of the biggest political accomplishments for some of those Democrat politicians was the fact that they helped land the RNC when Trump was the nominee back in 2016, because that was like Cleveland's "we're back" party. They built some huge hotels just for that event. It brought a lot of good publicity to Cleveland, obviously a lot of tourism to Cleveland for an event that big. And ever since then, they've been landing big events. Like we just said, the NFL Draft, NBA All-Star Game, SummerSlam was there, I believe 2 years ago. So, I mean, like Cleveland's all in the up and up, and it was cool to be a part of that.
All kinds of suplexing going on.
Yeah.
Ryan Schmelz, Fox News Radio, Capitol Hill, and White House correspondent. It's nice to have you in D.C., and you get to see it firsthand, but don't forget us small people here in the Midwest.
Never. I'm always coming on this show whenever you guys ask.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. I think, Brad, we're going to bring Ethan in, and we're going to take a look at the Monday Roundup. Is that right? A lot of big stories happening here. So
that's what we got going on next.
And if you were watching on YouTube, make sure to go and subscribe, but also go vote in the YouTube poll. We got that going on here about artificial intelligence. Looking forward to that. You're listening to the Andy Fry Show. I'm Ryan Recker filling in. And don't go anywhere. 97.1 FM Talk.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show. The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
The Range St. Louis West is launching the countdown to 250 years of American freedom this July by giving away 5,000 rounds of 9mm ammo. 5 winners will get 1,000 rounds each, and winners are going to be drawn July 1st. Don't miss your shot. Enter now at therangestl.com/ammo. You have to be 21 or older to enter. It's open to Missouri residents and Illinois residents with a valid FOID card. No purchase necessary. therangestl.com/ammo.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Drury Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Drury Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Drury Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit lance.drurylaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon, and whether you're looking for independent living, assisted living, or memory care, New Perspective gives you the freedom to live the life you love with just the right support. Beautiful apartments, amazing dining, plenty of activities. Check out npseniorliving.com today. New Perspective Senior Living, a friendlier approach to senior living.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido, and they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
Today's YouTube live chat poll. What is your take on AI and the future? Are you excited about it? Are you cautiously optimistic? Or are you afraid? Does it scare you? Lots to talk about, lots to discuss there. So jump on Annie's YouTube page, vote in the poll, and leave us a comment telling us why you voted the way you voted. Why do you feel scared? Why do you, or why are you cautiously optimistic? Or why are you excited? Let us know. We'll star your comment, and we might read it on the air. The time is 12:43, and this time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The Mark Reardon Show.
Monday afternoon, of course, we're going to catch up on the latest with politics, but let's have a little fun at 5:25 with St. Louis-based comedian and one of the funniest guys on the planet, Greg Warren.
The Mark Reardon Show, weekdays from 3 to 6. This is the Annie Fry Show. This is The Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie. Not Wiggins America, Ethan's America. Ethan's America.
You know, there just genuinely are not any words to describe that. And, you know, I don't even know why I keep coming back on. I really don't. Brad, any
Wait,
thoughts?
no. Your name was in the intro. I heard it. It's exactly what you wanted.
No. First off, not the same intro. Second off, I feel like it kind of negates your name being in it when it's followed by, let's see, disappointed, depressing music. It's setting me up for failure. That's what it's doing. That's what it's doing right now.
You have a lot of emotions, Ethan. I can tell that you're going through some things right now, it sounds like.
Am I? Do I?
Are you okay? Are you okay, buddy?
You know, I just don't feel appreciated sometimes by Ryan Wiggins.
Ooh, oh, well, yeah, I was going to say, whoa, hold on. We definitely appreciate you. It's just that
it's just that Ryan Wiggins is Ryan Wiggins.
Hey, but let's be honest here. You give Ryan his fair share back. So
well, I have to because I get attacked for no reason
kind of
quite
needs
often. He does need it. Oh, he 100% needs it. Well, for a Monday roundup today, because you know you wouldn't know that it was a Monday roundup because you heard the Ethan's America intro. We have a couple of different things, sports related as always, of course. We're gonna go ahead and start off with the latest in sports video games. So first off, do you guys play any sports video games?
I used to play the Madden stuff and all that all the time. But
does NHL 95 and NBA Jam on the Super Nintendo count?
Hey, I respect that.
Hey,
I respect that.
NHL
hardcore.
95 was peak NHL video game.
I loved it. Oh, was that so fun?
It was so good.
I was good too. I think, yeah, people say like, oh, I was the best in the world at a certain game, and then they say their game. To me, it was NHL 95.
Yeah. The other game that was like really good that was baseball was MLB 2005.
Yeah.
That game was peak.
Which one was that?
That was the one with Manny on the cover.
MVP Baseball? Is that what it was?
Yeah,
that's right. That was a good one. So Madden just announced their new cover athlete. And if you're unfamiliar with Madden, it's EA Sports' main NFL video game named after John Madden. And they just announced that it would be Saquon Barkley. So if you know who that is, he's the running back for the Philadelphia Eagles. And
very good.
I think he was the offensive player of the year according to or from the Associated Press. And he had how do I best put this? He had an unbelievable season. So he was with the Giants for a long time. The Giants have been very bad for a long time. So it's kind of a tough spot for a really good player. And they basically said, hey, go ahead and test the market. And we'll see if you can, you'll probably come back to us because, the market's not going to give you that much money. And he signed with their rival, the Philadelphia Eagles. And in is this his first year? His first year, he wins a Super Bowl. I mean, that's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Talk about rubbing it in the face of your opponent. But now he is on the cover of Madden. And then there's this thing, guys. I'm curious if you've heard of this. There's this thing out there, there's some suspicion that when you're on the cover of Madden, it basically screws you for the next year. They call it the Madden curse.
The Madden curse, yeah.
The Madden curse. So, the question now becomes, are the Eagles donezo because Saquon Barkley is going to be on the cover of Madden? And the second question would be, does it even matter because they just won a Super Bowl?
Yeah. Well, no, I think they always debunk these curses, but at the same time, there's a pretty long history of them being cursed.
Isn't it like an injury thing?
It's not only injury. there have been some situations, some scenarios where it is injury, but the main thing is that I don't think that ever since they started making Madden games in what probably the early 2000s,
Oh man, no,
maybe
no,
late
no.
90s.
It goes
the
way
90s?
before that. Yeah.
Okay, so the 90s. There has never been a team that has won a Super Bowl that had a player on the cover of Madden.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know this, but John Madden died, and he was on the cover. His name's right there.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even.
That's a curse.
I didn't even realize that one. That's like the most intense of them all. Like, has anyone ever been injured? A few, but someone died.
Yeah, one guy died.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
his
he was
name's
old.
on the box. He was old.
So the other interesting part about this is that is the picture that they're going to use for the Madden cover this year. Saquon Barkley in the 2025 season had what some are calling the most unbelievable play of all time, where he hurdled someone while standing backwards. Did you ever happen to see this play, Ryan Recker?
No, I have not. Explain to me, how do you hurdle someone standing backwards?
Yeah.
Like he was running backwards? and he hurdled?
So what happened was he was maneuvering and juking out several different players. He spins, but instead of doing a full spin, he did a half spin, and he leapfrogged a guy that was diving for him. Now, how he knew that guy was coming, I guess he saw him before he spun, and he just timed it perfectly. But the pictures of this are absolutely
The
unbelievable.
video of it was unbelievable.
In my opinion, it's going to go down as maybe the coolest cover in Madden history, but also one of the coolest plays in NFL history.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it's up there with the Odell Beckham one-handed diving grab. I mean, it's pretty awesome. But that's the picture that they're going to use. You need to go and look at this picture, Ryan Recker, because
I'm looking at it right now.
does it not look insane?
The coloring, everything with it is just perfect.
They did that defender dirty though by putting him on there as well.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Well,
I know.
it's just like the top of their head, right? Like basically, they don't show the full person that he hopped over.
It's enough. Someday that guy's gonna have kids if he doesn't already.
He's like, I was on the cover of Madden.
Yep. That's
he got the curse early.
maybe there's
take
a
it back,
positive
yeah.
a positive curse
I
when
mean-
you're in his situation.
Yeah, and
Maybe
I don't
the
know if that guy's any
Jacksonville
good.
Jaguars win
That
the
would-
Super Bowl.
That would be, was it Adrian
I have no idea.
AB that kicked that guy in the middle of the chest?
Oh, Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
yeah, it was.
And like putting that on the cover
Right.
of Madden with the punter getting stepped
A
on.
little,
basically.
yeah, a little bit different, but same difference.
This is amazing. This the way this photo goes. Now I don't know if the photographer that took that won a Nobel Prize in photography, but they should
Should've.
have because, or a Pulitzer. What do they give to the
I
photographer?
think that's what it is. I think it's the Pulitzer.
Pulitzer.
Yeah. You can get all
And-
sorts of awards.
But it's like those old basketball cards where you're getting dunked over by Jordan.
Uh-huh.
You probably don't feel that bad. You're like, I'm on a trading card with Jordan. Like that's I have that
Yeah,
in common
that's
with
a
Michael
that's
Jordan.
a good
That's
point.
pretty cool.
That it's almost like an honor, right? It's like, hey,
Yeah.
like the greatest of all time made me look ridiculous, but
All right,
he's the
we
greatest
just
of all
sent-
time, so it's okay.
They just sent me a video of this. I was gonna watch it real quick. Okay,
oh
go
yeah,
ahead.
you gotta you watch that, and I'll keep on keeping on here because we have a couple of
I just saw it. It's funny almost
Isn't that
in a way.
it's insane?
comical that he's able to do that.
But the funny
Okay.
thing is, so now they're actually going to put this move into the game, which I think is a little bit ridiculous.
That's a little much.
Because it's been done once in NFL history. What are the odds that it's done again? And now anyone can do it in a video
For
game?
sure.
Come on. That's a little ridiculous.
No, yeah, I don't like that.
And you're going to be playing against some 8-year-old, and they'll pull that move on you, and you'll throw your controller through the TV. You'll
Yep.
be
And
so upset.
you're going to have your headphones on. He's going to be screaming in your ear. Yeah. That's...
Yep, they're going to be screaming Minecraft chicken
Oh
jockey
my
stuff or
gosh,
whatever,
not
and you're
this
going to be
again.
so mad, and you're just going to rage quit and throw the controller against the wall.
Get wrecked, nerd. So there's a couple of, as we wrap up Wiggins America here in the next couple of minutes, there's a couple of championship series going on this week that are getting started. First, the NBA Finals are beginning on Thursday. Those will be on NBC. The Oklahoma City Thunder will face off against the Indiana Pacers in what I think could be the lowest rated NBA Finals that we have seen in a long time, unfortunately. 2024's NBA Finals between the Boston Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks averaged 11.3 million viewers per game, which was the lowest since 2021. And COVID was the lowest for anyone that's wondering in 2020 when it was the Lakers and the Heat, but there was no one
COVID,
there. It
yeah.
was in Orlando. So when you look at two teams that are playing in pretty small markets for the NBA, Indianapolis and Oklahoma City, it just would not surprise me if we see that this is a pretty lowly viewed NBA Finals, unfortunately.
I mean, I think people are surprised that Indiana still has a team.
Why?
Just because it's such a small market. What I'm saying is they don't get any press. People aren't like, you don't hear about the Pacers faithful the way you would hear about
right. In that sense, though, it is refreshing to see a team like that in the finals. Is it going to play well with the markets? No, but it's still going to be fun in that sense.
But it's so good for those teams.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally.
Oklahoma City, they have a little bit bigger of a profile because they had, some marquee players that played there for a while and people paid attention.
And they still do. The MVP is on the team.
Yeah. So, but yeah, people don't, for whatever reason, the coastal cities don't want to watch, Midwestern towns play basketball for the championship.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw out an alternative. Okay, so I'm gonna bust this in a moment, and I'll probably be wrong because the odds are against me. Normally, when you have casuals that watch a series, they just want to see the big guys go down. Like they hate the Lakers or they hate fill in the blank. Right? They watch just to see them lose, and it brings them joy to see them lose. What happens when both the teams are generally liked? And they just play really good basketball. Maybe this could be a good thing for the NBA. And you're not watching for someone to lose. You're watching because it's a really good product.
Hey, I hope that is the case, and that would be fun and refreshing. I'm going to wrap here real quick with the Stanley Cup Finals that are getting underway on Wednesday. The Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers, a rematch of last year's Cup Final that won 7 games. It was pure cinema. This is the 12th time in NHL history and only the second time in 40 years that two teams are meeting in the Cup Finals back-to-back years. And the last time it happened, 08 and 09, your Detroit Red Wings facing off against the Pittsburgh Penguins, Ryan.
Go Florida. I love hanging it over Canada to let them know they haven't won a cup in so long.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Andy Fry Show, 97.1 FM Talk.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
One of the things with running is I want to enjoy the run, but I never made it very far because the arches in my feet just killed me. So when I got to the end of my rope and I said I have to do something to get rid of the pain, and a couple people recommended the Good Feet store to me. I loved how I could go in and get a free personalized arch support fitting. They put that time, that work, that effort into helping you find the right arch supports. And you can walk around this store with these in your shoes and try them out before you purchase them. So after I got my arch supports, the arches on my feet stopped hurting and the pain instantly, literally instantly went away. So if you have pain, go. Find a Good Feet store and go. There is an answer. Find the simple solution that will get rid of your pain. I'm Rondi, and that's my Good Feet story.
See how Good Feet arch supports work for you before you buy with a free fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
Visit one of our 2 locations, Creve Coeur and Shiloh, Illinois, and at goodfeet.com.
Since 1995, Renewal by Andersen has been helping St. Louis homeowners upgrade with windows and doors built to last. And now we're celebrating in a big way. It's our 30th anniversary window and door sale, and you can take $19.95 off every project. No gimmicks, no games, just real savings from a name you've trusted for decades. Our exclusive Fibrex material is 200% stronger than vinyl and backed by the nation's best warranty. Drafty windows, dated doors, want to boost curb appeal? This is your moment to make the upgrade. But hurry, this offer ends June 30th and some restrictions apply. Visit rbastl.com to learn more or schedule your free inspection today. It's fast, it's easy. Just dial pound 250 on your phone and say the keyword Windows. That's pound 250, keyword Windows. Or head to rbastl.com. Renewal by Andersen. Superior products, exceptional service.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
A federal charge in a firebomb attack. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News, after yesterday's assault on Israeli hostage advocates in Colorado.
We have now received the federal criminal complaint. The federal charge is for a hate crime.
Fox's Alicia Acuna in Boulder, where 8 people were injured. Officials say the suspect, 45-year-old Mohammed Solomon, is from Egypt and is in the U.S. illegally after overstaying a visa. The FBI says he told police he planned the attack for a year, targeting what he described as a Zionist group.
We got a lot of information out of this document from the feds. They said that they found at least 14 unlit Molotov cocktails in a container near Solomon when they arrested him. They also said that he admitted to looking up the group that made up his victims online. In other words, he knew they would be here.
Witnesses say he shouted "Free Palestine" during the fiery attack. He's also facing multiple state charges.
This absolutely is an act of targeted terrorism. The FBI and the Department of Justice are investigating it as such.
White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt just telling Fox,
the president is going to ensure that this individual is held to the fullest extent of the law. And not just this individual, but any individual, especially illegal criminals who engage in acts of terrorism, will be held accountable under this president.
President Trump calling the attack horrific and criticizing the previous administration's border policies in a social media post. The White House press secretary also just saying a call between President Trump and the Chinese president is likely this week. The two have trade issues to iron out, including differences on a recent agreement pausing higher tariffs.
The president accused Beijing of totally violating the deal last week. Chinese authorities say the U.S. is in violation over barriers on computer chips and canceling student visas.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House is as President Trump also announced he plans to double tariffs on steel imports. America is listening to Fox News.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Tons of sunshine across St. Louis on this Monday afternoon. It's a warm one, 88 for the high, but you have to expect that this time of year. Going into summertime tonight, partly cloudy, 80s this evening, 67 for the low. Tuesday, partly sunny, breezy. It's a little warmer. It's a little more humid. 91 on Tuesday with developing showers and thunderstorms late Tuesday night, continuing Wednesday and Thursday. This is 97.1 FM Talk, Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
You want to retire soon, but everyone keeps telling you to wait until you're 65. After all, that's the age that you qualify for Medicare and you're close to full retirement age. I'm Marvin Mitchell, president of Compass Retirement Solutions. In my new book, Retire Early, The 9 Critical Decisions When Retiring Before 65, I discuss proper planning to help make early retirement possible. When to take Social Security, what to do with your 401k, health care, how to maximize retirement income, and much more. Get a complimentary copy of Retire Early by calling 1-800-743-8510. That's 1-800-743-8510. Can you retire early? Call 1-800-743-8510 for your copy of Retire Early, the 9 critical decisions when retiring before 65.
Investments and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and Illinois. Compass Retirement Solutions is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
Your home is your sanctuary. Get the peace of mind you deserve with a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter. They're the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. With expert installation and 24-hour monitoring, Generator Supercenter won't leave you in the dark. Financing is available. Take control of your power today with Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. Call 314-499-2020. That's 499-2020 or GeneratorSuperCenterofStLouis.com. That's GeneratorSuperCenterofStLouis.com.
This is a special notice to all U.S. taxpayers with back taxes to the IRS. Billions in tax relief is now being made available to struggling taxpayers, giving thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars in savings away to those who qualify. If you're facing wage garnishment, threatening letters, audits, liens, levies, or already in a payment plan, you can now expedite the resolution to your tax problem, end collections, and even qualify to reduce a large portion of what you owe. Stop IRS Debt has established a relief hotline for you to call to check what savings and options you qualify for. Dial 800-317-1890. With many people facing job loss and rising cost of living, these special IRS initiatives are designed to aid delinquent taxpayers with the relief that they need to get a fresh start. For a free consultation to see what savings you qualify for, call 800-317-1890. 800-317-1890. 800-317-1890.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Oh, yeah, here's the moment you have been waiting for. Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom.
Annie's out. Ryan and Brad are in.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
This is the Manny Fry Show.
And welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker filling in with Brad and Ethan, who still feels slighted by his name not being in the recorded intros and such. So I think that'll have to be fixed at some point, or we just manually say his name in the intro next time. That could be part of it too. All right, Brad, with the economy, I know you pulled some clips on this, and we're going to be talking to Steve Moore here soon from Heritage Foundation. There was a pretty good clip, pretty good part online, and I think this is clip number 8, where the Trump presidency's Treasury chief is clapping back at Brennan. Can we play that clip real quick?
Besant.
When you were last here in March, we were trying to gauge what the impact of the standoff with China and with the tariffs on the rest of the world would do for American consumers here at home. At that time, you told us you were going to appoint an affordability czar and council to figure out 5, you said, or 8 areas where there will be some, pain for working class Americans. Where are you anticipating price increases?
Well, thus far, we wanted to make sure that there aren't price increases, Margaret, and thus far there have been no price increases. Everything has been alarmist. That the inflation numbers are actually dropping. We saw the first drop of inflation in 4 years. The inflation numbers last week, they were very pro-consumer.
Right. That's a big thing. The inflation numbers do play a factor into it, but yeah, I don't know if it's too much alarmist or not, but it does make sense that companies who anticipated problems with the tariffs have stockpiled. Thus, they've mitigated some of the cost, realizing that they've been able to sell off what they have in their own inventory at the reduced rate before they have to go back, buy it at a higher rate and sell it at a higher rate. But conventional thinking would also say that they would have just sold it for the higher rate anyway, if they could have sold it for the higher rate. So maybe that is just all, again, fear talking to try to get people into the stores to buy a bunch of stuff, kind of like back when COVID was hit. Oh, we're going to run out of food. Oh, we're going to run out of toilet paper. Oh, we're going to run out of this and that. So everyone goes and buys the shelves all the way out. So could there be some of that going on here? And it could be some manipulation when it comes to the markets. All right, joining us now is a distinguished fellow in economics at Heritage, a Trump economic advisor, Steve Moore. Thank you for joining us in St. Louis.
Thanks so much for having me.
In your book, The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again. So we played that clip there from, I think it was Face of the Nation over the weekend, essentially, where they're saying, well, okay, what are we supposed to do with all these price increases? And they're saying, now, hold up a second here. We haven't really seen inflation go crazy like you said it would. In fact, inflation is actually getting better. And we haven't seen the major price increases like you said would happen. So we're actually seeing things stable off a little bit. So where do you think the economy is right now? Is it at a place where we can trust it? Because there is a lot of fear driving what could be happening in the future.
Well, first of all, I mean, everything you said is correct. That in fact, I've been wrong. I thought we would see some inflation from some of the tariff talks and so on. But in fact, so far we've seen really pretty tame inflation. We're running at about 3% inflation, which, you know, it's still a little bit over the target of 2%, which is what the Federal Reserve sets for price increases each year. But 3% is certainly in the kind of zone of where you want it to be. You want price to rise by about 1% to 3% per year. And so there has not been a runaway inflation at all, despite all the dire predictions. So that's good news. And there's two new pieces of data that just come out about the last week. One is the Federal Reserve Board, which monitors what's happening with the pace of economic growth, you know, on a weekly basis. Their latest estimate for the second quarter GDP is 3.5% or higher, which is a really good number. So the economy is expanding again. The unemployment numbers are low. Now, are we out of the choppy waters? No, I don't think we are. You know, just the other day, Trump announced a big increase in the steel tariffs. That's in my opinion, a very bad idea. It'll save some steel jobs, but it'll make all sorts of other manufacturing products in the United States more expensive if they use steel. So I think it's self-defeating. So we're going to continue to see choppy waters, but right now the economy certainly looks a lot healthier than it was 2 or 3 months ago.
Let me put it this way. So tell me if this is kind of the conservative way of taking a liberal argument or not, because when you saw during Obama and some of the administrations, when they put a lot of emphasis on green deals, green this, green that. So we got to incentivize solar. We got to incentivize the windmills. We have to incentivize the electric cars. So we're going to put a ton of money into this because we know in the long run that this is going to pay off because we're talking about our children's lives here, right? So they would say these things, and ultimately speaking, when it came to all these green things, none of them came to fruition. So is the conservative argument for this and the tariffs essentially, we got to bring everything back in here. We have to equal the playing field so our kids' lives are better. So is this basically the thing I'm worried about is we're not going to get the payoff like we're promised, kind of like the liberals were told with the green stuff, that we're not going to see the payoff in the long run for all this tariff talk.
Well, tariffs, are taxes, and so they do negatively affect the economy. Now, look, I'm a Trump guy. I served with Donald Trump. I wrote the very first version of his Trump tax cut, and the one we passed in 2017, which was a spectacular success. We want to make that permanent. So I'm a Trump guy. I admire so much of what he's done for our country in his first 4.5 years in office. On the other hand, the one thing I disagree with him a bit on is tariffs. Now, tariffs, in the past, when we've raised tariffs, it's not been good for the economy. But, Trump would say, and there's something to this, that, it's not a level playing field. Other countries are taking advantage of us, and we have leverage over them. So we should exert our economic muscle to force them to do things that are America's interest. And, I think there's something to that. I'm generally quite impressed with what he's doing. I love DOGE. I love the idea of just exposing all the incredible waste and fraud and hundreds of billions of dollars a year in wasted money. By the way, 60 Minutes this past weekend interviewed, a Washington auditor that said she thinks that the waste and fraudulent payments are near $1 trillion a year out of $8 trillion budget. So it's rampant. People are just stealing money left and right. That's how Washington gets rich. And then we got the tax cut. I think we're going to make that permanent, which will be a huge plus for the economy. We're deregulating, getting rid of some of the most onerous regulations, like forcing people to buy electric vehicles against their will. The pro-American energy policies is right. It's funny. Everybody's talking about the left is saying, "Oh, prices are rising again." Gas prices aren't rising. They've been as low as they've been in 5 years.
Yeah. And I was looking at some of these other reports. There was that one Health and Human Services watchdog group that identified $16 billion in overpayments. And we find these not minuscule amounts. And I understand that the argument that some people make, which is when you're talking about a budget that big, $1 billion really isn't that much money. No, you got to stop thinking that way. And when you're talking $1 trillion waste, oh, man.
Yeah, $16 billion. Some states don't even have budgets that are $16 billion. Their entire budget isn't that big. So, that isn't, and by the way, not million, billion, $16 billion. And that's what we know of. That's the money we know is being stolen. Imagine how much, and people might say, well, it's just, floating back in the economy. No, it's not, because a lot of these people who are ripping off the government are foreigners. And they're taking the money back home to China or Russia or Ukraine or these other countries. So it is a rampant problem. And it's the one thing I'm a little annoyed with the Republicans right now is they're not making a really great effort at trying to get rid of the fraud, other than what Elon Musk did. And I just wrote a column saying, did Elon Musk drain the swamp or did he drown in it? Because all of a sudden he became a villain, because he was telling people that the emperor wears no clothes.
I find that when it comes to outsiders that come in and try to make a change, there's only been one really effective person, and that's Donald Trump, to ever do it. And Elon Musk probably thought he can do something similar, meaning I could figure out a way to run this like a company and find ways to cut things to make it more efficient. And he found it's a very difficult thing, which to me just indicates that Donald Trump may be one of the most unique persons in American history to be able to accomplish everything he's and go against the government in the way that he has to accomplish it, which is really spectacular. But there's one other thing I've noticed: when you don't have the cards and you have a losing hand, there's something that Democrats primarily do. They go into this mode where we're just going to tell people that if we don't get our way, you're going to die. So people are going to die if you don't do this. People are going to die if you don't see it our way. And as soon as they pull that card, I feel like we know they've lost. So I feel like the Republicans are in a strong position to get something done here when you see that being said on the other side.
Well, it doesn't happen that often, in the last 50 years when Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. So they need to act with a degree of urgency. This is not a false alarm, folks. This is not a fire drill. This is the real thing. We're borrowing $2 trillion a year. Our budget's out of control. We need to grow the economy faster and grow the government slower. And that's exactly what Donald Trump wants to do. Now, again, I'm not someone who thinks everything Donald Trump is doing is great. I'm not a big supporter of the tariffs and some of the other policies, but on balance, I think it's very strong for the U.S. economy. I think it'll be very positive. And I think by the end of this year, if we get this tax cut done and we get some of these trade deals done, I think you're going to see a big boom.
All right. I know your book, people can find it, The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again. Where can people find that?
Best way to get first of all, people want to get our free hotline. It is free. Just go to unleashprosperity.com and sign up. And it's not selling anybody anything because it costs you absolutely nothing. But I want people to be the smartest person in the room. So just read that. But then, if they want to get the book, just go to Amazon. The latest book is called The Trump Economic Miracle, How We're Going to Revive the Economy Again. And Donald Trump wrote the foreword to that book.
Wow. Does he still not sleep? He was known in his first administration for barely sleeping, so he must have stayed up late one day to help you out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks so much for having me. I hope you have a great week ahead.
Steve Moore from the Heritage Foundation, Distinguished Fellow in Economics. Thank you for joining us. I know he's got other interviews to go to. We probably held him a little extra late there, but the Trump economic advisor, and he's right about these things. And Brad, I'll go back to just the point. I think that once the politicians, and I'm not saying that that's always Democrats that do it, but if your main defense is will die, people are going to die, and if you don't start doing this or you don't do this, people are going to die, that type of thing to me indicates you have no other play. Like that's your only argument, then you're in trouble. That means you don't have the cards to get what you want.
Right, that's where we're at now, and it's that whole Chicken Little, the sky is falling thing. I mean, you can't just keep saying that sort of thing and expect people not to go numb to it. And so that's kind of what happened with that. Now if somebody says it, I'm like, oh, I guess you don't have anything. You know?
Do you remember Remy? Do you ever see him on...
I was just thinking about it.
That was a fantastic song he put together. So he does stuff for Reason TV. And as a musician, I would say he's well above average, and his parodies are hilarious on Reason TV. So if you get a chance to, that really what comes to mind when I see this out there. Yeah. People are going to die. I used to have the song. I have a little button bar over here, and I used to keep the song here on my button bar so I can just play it whenever I want. Okay, you know what? As it turns out, I still have it here.
People need kidneys. It's sad but decreed. Yet the senator's hoarding one more than she needs. I offer this bill and I hope you'll vote aye. Unless, of course, you just want people to die. Traffic deaths have many crying with fear. Over 30,000 people are dying each year. This modest change I propose must be applied. Unless, of course, you just want people to die. Alcohol deaths are exceeding comparisons. Black people, white people, Native Americans. We need to ban alcohol. It can't be denied. Unless, of course, you just want people to die.
Okay, so that's essentially the song. And I got to say, he is an absolute genius. And I think he is fantastic.
If you watch
I keep that on my button bar.
I don't blame you. If you watch the music video, basically he's dressed as different congresspersons delivering speeches on the floor. Like, this is their main argument for getting their bill passed.
Yep. You know, I have like other things that I keep on the button bar. You want to hear some of my random drops?
Let's hear it.
All right. Here's Joe Biden stuff. Let's see.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
That's a good one. This is another good one.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
That's a good one.
Jeez.
Come on, man.
I'm going to play that one a few times.
Come on, man.
How about this one?
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
You know, people say he was really sharp and they didn't see any signs of decline.
Couldn't keep up with him.
I couldn't keep up with him. But, you know, he was the sharpest guy and everything was fine. And you only did things like that. Or what was this one, too? Let's see.
And by the way, you know, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn, that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight and then watch the hair come back up again. They look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. And I tell you what.
Okay. That one just to
wow. Like, I remember when he initially was saying that, when that clip initially dropped, it is like, what is he? You go back and listen to it, and it's still just as insane now as it was then. There's like never been any context that's added to it.
You know, they've never found any sign of mental decline in Joe Biden. I would argue the signs have always been there.
Yeah.
The whole time. Going into a public area and saying, I let kids rub my hairy legs.
I learned about kids jumping on my lap.
Jumping on my lap.
You're watching that as his campaign manager going, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, I think this was after he was out of office for vice president, but before he was running again for president. So that it was kind of in that limbo area, I think. So, oh man, that whole speech. And then of course he uses a racist term in there and no one ever called him out on it.
Yeah.
He uses the term roaches. And if you want to know what that is, I guess you can look it up. I don't have to explain it to you, but he went there and he was talking about what it was like to be at a predominantly pool where was only black people. And he was the only white person there. And that was part of the song. Like he was the only white guy. And he refers to the children as roaches. And I think he never really got the criticism that he should have got for that comment. But I think that was just a drop in the bucket for Joe Biden. I want to say that most people who saw the real side of him got to see the angry version of that Joe Biden often, and then just kind of hit it because it didn't really suit their prerogative, which is kind of sad. In a way, it's very sad.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to be with Dr. Jim Robbins after the break.
Yep.
Is that right? Senior Fellow in National Security Affairs at the American Foreign Policy Council. It'll be a good interview. Go vote in our YouTube poll. Are you scared, optimistic? What does the future of AI look like? Go vote in our poll. We'll get the results later. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in on 97.1 FM Talk.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show.
I'm Ultima Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Every time one of my children started driving, it was terrifying. Thousands of accidents happen across the country. We see it every day. If you've been injured in a car accident, call us.
Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
We started Neovitin because we wanted to create a multivitamin for ourselves. That's why we focus on quality ingredients and formulas with our multivitamins. Neovitin 50 Plus multivitamins are formulated with over 20 vitamins and minerals, along with our 4-ingredient physician-formulated proprietary blend for the highest quality daily nutritional support. Give Neovitin 50 Plus multivitamins a try for yourself. Find them at your local Schnucks, Deerbergs, and online at neovitin.com.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is proud to support Greater St. Louis Honor Flight. Sign your veteran up for the Honor Flight today at gslhonorflight.org. And for HVAC services, visit aircomfortservice.com.
Everybody, rock your body, everybody, rock your body right. Backstreet's back, all right.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Oh my God, we're back again.
Are you sure Ethan doesn't listen to this when he comes into the studio? He walks into the building. He's got the headphones on. Looks like an NBA player pregame.
Yep. You know what? I think maybe he could, because I think he said that he listened to Dancing Queen only on Fridays. So there's other days of the week. So this song's a bop.
Can you turn this up real quick? Listen, let me see if we hear this one lyric here. Someone pointed that out, you know. It's a bunch of dudes, and it's one guy turning around to the other dudes asking, am I sexual? And the other dudes say, yeah, which is really strange. I never picked that up. I never picked that up when this came out late 90s. But that was a really strange thing to ask your buddies, wasn't it?
I wouldn't ask my buddies that.
No, that never once came up. Hey, guys, I need to know. And to bring it up in song form. Joining us now is the Senior Fellow in National Security Affairs at the American Foreign Policy Council, Dr. Jim Robbins. Thanks for joining us here in St. Louis.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So I wanted to discuss this video that came out showing Ukraine and Russia, and it's such an amazing video. It's almost like out of a video game where they're controlling this drone and they're just bombing these planes that are parked. And to me, it is just quite amazing. Can I maybe first get your reaction to that between Ukraine and Russia and the video that came out?
Well, it's really fantastic when you look at this operation. I mean, from the conception of it to the execution of it, they loaded trucks, with containers filled with drones. They positioned these throughout Russia. I mean, in some cases, far across Russia. And then we're able remotely to deploy them from the trucks to destroy these strategic weapons that were just sitting out there on the tarmac. I mean, just the whole thing from top to bottom was fantastic.
Yeah, I was telling Brad about this earlier. The last time I saw an operation that I was really wowed by was the pagers in Israel. And I thought that was a wow operation that was executed perfectly. This one looks like, to me, wow. So where does that lead us now between Russia and Ukraine? Because supposedly there should be having some peace talks here.
Well, it's a little bit disruptive to that process for sure. I don't know if it affects the battlefield situation too much because even though some of these weapons have been used in the war, they weren't all destroyed. So it's a black eye for Russia. It's an embarrassment. I don't think it changes facts on the ground. And knowing how Russians do things, I'm certain they're going to seek an opportunity to strike back, if not in kind, then in a way that really makes the point.
So what would the point have to be made? So let's say this point of Ukraine is, we need to show them we still mean business, right? We need to show them that we have the capabilities, and you have to show this type of force and strength in order to let them know that we're not going away. So you better get to the table. Maybe if that's the message, I think Zelensky had something similar to say. So what message does Russia in return say to? How do you think they follow up?
Well, it was such an embarrassment to them. I mean, areas that they thought were completely secure suddenly aren't. You have Ukrainian special operators operating on Russian territory in order to make this happen. So they're going to seek some way to damage Ukraine's prestige or just do something very destructive to them. Russia hasn't used all of the types of weapons that it could use against Ukraine. And I'm talking about like strategic bombers and rockets, not nuclear, but, still weapons with reach and with punch. And I think Putin will escalate it a little bit. I think he will unleash something on Ukraine that they're kind of not expecting, that he hasn't used before, but just really to make the point that you cannot embarrass him and get away with it.
I was under the impression Russia was running out of steam like 2 years ago, and here's things are still going. So, how much do they actually have left in the tank to retaliate? It sounds like, they've used pretty much every resource they can possibly use without getting other countries involved.
Well, there are other countries involved, North Korea and Iran, for example, but they do have a lot left. They're actually advancing on the ground. It's incremental, but they are advancing. And they're fighting an attrition war with Ukraine because Putin doesn't care how many people die to further his aims. He will empty his jails. He will throw in any kind of people into the meat grinder. And Russia has 4 to 5 times the mobilization base of Ukraine, so he can afford to do it. I mean, the Ukrainians have to kind of be careful about preserving their forces. They can't just fight an attrition war like that. So Russia can keep going in this war, especially since Putin he really doesn't care how many people die for him.
Let's say there's, unlikely as it is, someone's considering traveling to Russia right now. What would you tell them? I would tell them, don't be their next prisoner. It seems like that's the type of stuff that happens here because they have to pull people out for leverage and negotiations and things. I'm assuming most Americans would understand it's probably not a good time to travel over there, but I'm guessing some still do.
I guess people do. I wouldn't advise it, for that reason. Like you could wind up a hostage, part of the negotiation. If you absolutely positively have to go to Russia, make sure that your, insurance is in good shape. Take a burner phone because your phone will be compromised when you go over there. There's just so many issues with traveling to Russia right now.
Former special assistant in the Office of the Secretary of Defense. So what do you think the United States role will be moving forward? They've been trying to facilitate some of these different discussions into trying to end this because we don't want to have to continue to, number one, at least deal with it financially from our sake, but two, we just don't want to have the uncertainty of everything else going on. So what do you think the United States role is moving forward if they can't get some sort of deal in place?
Well, there has been a little bit of a rift between the Congress and the White House over the funding issue. I think that's being tempered, though, by the fact that even though President Trump was confident he could get everybody to the table, Putin just isn't in the mood to negotiate the way that Trump wants. So it seems like the United States might pivot back towards giving more support to Ukraine. I think the Ukrainians definitely have to seek more support from other countries, though, to make up whatever gap might be there. So it's really hard to say right now, but it seems like the mood in Congress, the bipartisan mood, is to maintain or even increase the aid to Ukraine while they can. And I think the White House is kind of softening on their position on that maybe Trump would go ahead with that.
Can I ask you about China too while we're at it, talking foreign affairs? Is
Sure.
China still perhaps the biggest threat? Because, we hear these things and we're like, okay, what if Russia does this? What if they bring out that? And, we're talking about more war in the region. And you don't want to forget about what's going on right now, not only with tariffs, but what China could do and their capabilities at least. So, uh, how do we stand with China? And are they still the biggest threat to America?
Well, China is definitely a growing threat when you look at what they're doing in terms of their military modernization. They're building up their nuclear program, they're looking at space weaponry. Their navy is growing by leaps and bounds. I mean, far outpacing any growth we have in that regard. They're pushing out territorial claims, not just against Taiwan, but against all of their neighbors. And, in that respect, China is a problem. But on the other hand, they're facing a demographic collapse. They've got economic contraction. The response of the Communist Party is kind of to double down on controls. And, we know how that works, right? I mean, look at the Soviet Union. So China's kind of a mixed bag, but the more they face chaos internally, the more they may look to a foreign policy adventure to try to unify their country behind the party and behind Chairman Xi. So it's kind of a shaky time now with China.
Hmm. Is there anything that we're not paying attention to foreign wise that we should be paying attention to? I feel like we get news on a minute by minute basis. So most of us are pretty well aware of things. But is there anything out there that is lingering that concerns you that we should be giving more attention?
Well, I think the recent domestic terror attacks in this country have drawn a little more attention to the fact that international terrorism is still out there and it's still a problem. People being motivated by extremist ideologies who are willing to use violence to make whatever point they're trying to make. So even though we're not as focused on it as we used to be, say, post 9/11, the terror threat is still out there, and it's something we have to be concerned about. And then, of course, there's Iran, which people are talking about. I don't know if they're talking about it correctly because there's no way Iran's going to give up their nuclear program. So, I mean, those negotiations are just not going to work.
Yeah. And, well, the pinky promise, which is we'll just give you aid and you'll promise not to enrich things. Yeah, right. That was kind of one of those things we can go back and look at and predictably understood why we should be skeptic of Iran to begin with. But somehow during the Obama administration, we still decided to trust them, which boggles my mind. Yeah, and we continue to see them as a threat foreign wise, but you talk about Boulder, Colorado. Is that what you're referring to when we're talking about domestic terrorism and what we find could happen in our own grounds?
Yeah, the Boulder, Colorado attack, the shooting that was here in Washington a couple weeks ago, the automotive attack in New Orleans on New Year's, which killed 15 people and was ISIS inspired. The attack on Governor Shapiro's residence in Pennsylvania, and other incidents that have taken place recently. Not all of which are motivated by, say, an Islamist type ideology, but many of them have been.
Right. Well, that's this last one. Well, I guess the last couple of when you're talking about the parade that was going on in Boulder and mostly targeting elderly Jewish people that were out there against Hamas and in the Jewish embassy, some of the problems that we saw. You're right. It's so funny. That just happened a couple of weeks ago, but it's out of our memory already. I don't know how to keep up with all the things that are going on, like in the United States, let alone around the world. So I don't know how you do it. So by the way, if people wanted to look you up online, Dr. Jim Robbins, where can they go?
Well, I'm the Dean of Academics at the Institute of World Politics, which is a graduate school in Washington. So you can go to iwp.edu and you can look me up and everything that our school does.
Great. Also a senior fellow in national security affairs, the American Foreign Policy Council, former special assistant in the Office of the Secretary of Defense. It's a lot of stuff. Your business card, I'm guessing, is like a full sheet of paper at this point. You got all the credentials that are on there.
Yeah, I try to keep it simple.
When you, on an education side, are you concerned? We saw all the stuff that happened in universities across the country where all the protests were coming out. Did that concern you?
Yeah, I was extraordinarily concerned. I wrote an article in the Wall Street Journal about that because, our school is not like those schools. Our school is committed to American values and, the Western moral tradition. We don't have encampments. We don't have pro-Hamas chanting or anything like that. And looking at the way education has gone in this country, particularly higher education, it's just out of control in terms of the value relativism and, hate America rhetoric and all of this kind of stuff. There's no sense of civic duty or support for the country or informed patriotism or anything like that. So I think what we're seeing now is a reckoning from that development. When the Trump administration is going after these schools, I think a lot of the public says, good, go for it.
It was so interesting, too. You can look at the universities that facilitated these protests and allowed for them to linger on much longer than they possibly should have. And then you get to the point where some of these universities continue to fight it today. And we can look at Harvard, which boggles my mind, too. That is what really boggles my mind. A lot of these other universities have realized their error in the way that they are harassing their own students and allowing this harassment to happen. But Harvard really wants to make sure that harassment continues in the future by continuing to fight for those protesters. That really boggles my mind, too. I'm guessing I don't know how that ends with Harvard, but I got to say, you got to stand by those students that are getting yelled at and harassed and not allowed to freely move around their own campus. But Harvard doesn't seem to mind it so much, I guess.
Yeah, it's sad. I think that they figure they can sit on their $54 billion endowment that they built up by exploiting the nonprofit laws, and that somehow they can wait the Trump administration out. I guarantee you they will fail at this attempt because those endowments, they're in the target zone right now, and the government's going to go after them. So, Harvard, you had the chance to do the right thing, but you're not doing it. So good luck.
Like every other university. Dr. Jim Robbins, thank you so much for joining us here in St. Louis. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, it's so, to me, it's hard to keep up, Brad, with all the different world events, let alone the domestic events that are going on, because things change so fast.
They change so fast, and they're all interlinked and intertwined, and they play off of one another, and the repercussions of one affects the other, and it's just so much.
Yeah, good luck trying to keep up. I guess that's why programs like this are important, so we can have those sort of discussions. All right, when we come back from the break, there's a couple of things that are going on, and it's so interesting when it comes to athletes, biological males competing in biological female sports. And a couple of those different stories came up over the weekend I wanted to bring up. I'm Ryan Recker, filling in. Don't go anywhere. 97.1 FM Talk.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show. Follow Annie on X at Annie Fry Show.
For that special person in your life, you need to visit the Diamond Shop. They're located in Clayton, but did you know that the Diamond Shop has been helping families find the perfect timeless jewelry right here in St. Louis since 1910. That longevity of shopping, essentially local, shopping with a family that cares about your family, getting to know your family, helping multiple people in your family. They do it with beautiful, timeless pieces and wonderful, respectful customer service. Do not be intimidated when you walk into the Diamond Shop. You can leave all of that, check that at the door. You're going to walk in. Everything sparkles so beautifully. And then they are constantly running great, awesome sales to make sure that they meet the mark of the month. Right now, we're probably looking at Father's Day gifts, possibly looking at watches, maybe a tie restraint. I had a tie restraint made for my husband from the Diamond Shop. He loves it. He doesn't have to stick a pin in his silk ties any longer. You go to the Diamond Shop, they're going to take care of you. Find them online at thediamondshop.net.
1 in 4 people surveyed by Bankrate.com say they're literally losing sleep because of worries that they may have not saved enough to retire. If you're ready to get serious about planning for your financial future, you could start by listening to the All Financial Hour with host Steve All of the All Financial Group.
What are your wishes, hopes, and dreams? What's retirement look like for you? Because everybody, that picture is different. If you want assistance, we can also help you at that point.
Tune in to the All Financial Hour with Steve All, Saturday mornings at 6, right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum-sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Need a lawyer? Onder wins. Call Onder Law at 314-9-million. That's 314-9 all zeros. Or go to onderwins.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
Today's YouTube live chat poll. What is your take on AI and the future? Are you excited about it? Are you cautiously optimistic? Or it scares you? We want to know what you think. So jump on Annie's YouTube page, vote in the poll, and leave us a comment saying why you voted the way you voted. We got lots of good comments, lots of good conversation going on there. So make sure you jump on Annie's YouTube page and leave us a comment telling us why you voted the way you voted, and we might read that comment on air later on. The time is 1:45, and this time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
On-time news. On your time. Download the Odyssey app and dip in whenever you want. And stay on top of what's happening. 97.1 FM Talk on the Odyssey app. Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show. The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
I've been trying to survive. The glow that the sun gets right around sunset helps me realize.
Do you follow Tyrus on social media?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Tyrus. He's a regular on the show.
I know he's on the show a lot. He just posted something on social media. I hope he's doing all right. Is he doing okay?
I haven't spoken to him.
So this is what he posted on social media about 1 hour ago. It's a picture with, it says, "I lied, neglected, and degraded the woman I love. I'm sorry." Hope he's doing okay.
Yeah,
I think last week we were going to have him on, but it didn't work out or something like that. And I know you do these updates with him, so I hope he's doing okay.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So, and he's getting a lot of reaction, and mostly, of course, positive to help support him through whatever he's going through. But we'll keep an eye on that, I guess. But can I talk about a couple of these different stories that came out over the weekend? Both of them have to do with trans athletes and the debate that still apparently goes on. So there's one from the New York Post here. It says, "Trans athlete tells critics to get a life after dominating girls' high school track and field state championship for second year straight." This person won the Class 2A 400-meter dash by nearly a second at the high school on Saturday, a year after becoming the state's first trans athlete to win a state title, according to the Seattle Times. So the debate that we have here is the advantages that biological men have performing in sports against biological females. And the other side of it is the safety issue, where if you have trans athletes that are just physically bigger and stronger than the people that are on the field against them in these high school competitions, that the risk of injury is significantly higher when you're in these contact sports. So those are real criticisms. This trans athlete's response to the booing critics is "get a life." Jeez. So, okay. In some ways I kind of understand it, because if this was your life, like all of your identity is revolved around you rejecting your biological sex, and then someone tells you that they don't play that game, and then I can understand why you get upset and say things like that, number one. But number two, I just hope that one day we can all get on the same page. And what I've seen, this number that's brought up a lot over the weekend is the 80-20. Have you heard people bring up 80-20 often?
80-20 issues, yeah.
80-20 issues, meaning that the ones that are out there trying to advocate for the biological male athlete to be able to run over biologically female athletes in high school sports, you're in the 20% that agree with that. But the 80%, most people that would look at that in a pragmatic and realistic way would say, no, there's something about that imbalance that is inherently unfair that needs to be addressed. And on top of that, maybe the safety issue alone is it. And same thing, this is a female Oregon athlete refused to share podium with trans competitor. So this was the same type of issue. So you have these different podiums where they get to step up there, and if they win a medal, they win a medal at the state competitions. A lot of states are having those right now because it's the end of the school year. And they're saying, in my protest, I'm just not going to go up there and accept that medal that I won because inherently you set us up uneven. And good for those girls to make a stand that way. I really appreciate that.
I mean, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of bravery to do that. And I know, everybody on the 20% side about this is worried about the feelings of the trans athlete, but they're not even thinking about the feelings of these girls who have worked really hard to get where they are. They've struggled, they've fought, they're at the top of their game. They are the best at their sport, at their age, in their state, and they have to compete a bit against somebody who isn't even in the same level. They literally do not stand a chance. And this person is out there basically taking all of their hard work and throwing it away because they can, So whenever that person gets up there and they're like, get a life, it's like, no, that's not fair to these girls. I think you're cheating.
Yeah. I think you're cheating. That's right.
I think you're cheating. And so I don't have to get a life if I think you're out there cheating.
Let's look at this. And let's play a clip here real quick. I think this was on Bill Maher with Democratic Representative Moulton. And this is clip number 9. It's regarding the Democratic strategy that we've seen. And going back into this last election, you'll hear this 80-20 number a lot where the Democrats said, we're going to win this election by going all in on these 20% issues. And what most Democrats are realizing, they've lost the confidence of American people because they believe these were the biggest issues to tackle. Let's do clip 9.
I got in big trouble with the NPR crowd for saying a few days after the election, look, I mean, we're calling the Republicans weird and we're the party that requires pronouns in your email signature. And you know what? If you want to be trans, go for it. It's a free country and you can put your pronouns out there, but don't put that on me. Right? That's all.
Yeah. So his big thing, tell me when someone is so funny, you ever see the Man on the Street segments where they're like going to young men and they're saying, okay, she has pronouns in her profile. What do you do? And they're like, red flag, I'm out of there. I'm not doing that. I think most young men realize this, and maybe what Tim Walz said, he's trying to explain why young men vote for Trump. He had a whole rant on this. Can we play some of these? This is clip number 6, because when I think about masculinity, I think about Tim Walz. And I want to know what he thinks about what a real man should be. So here's clip number 6.
I say this because I'm proud to say it looks like as of next Tuesday, I'm going to have a high school graduate with my son, Gus. And he's pretty in tune to this. But when he said this, he said, Dad, a lot of these young guys especially said they're not voting on the policy issues. And he wasn't dissing them. He said they may know the policy issues, but most of them don't. They're doing it because there's a sense of excitement, a sense of thrill in this. It's entertainment or whatever. We all dismiss that. Donald Trump's a clown. Donald Trump's rallies are a clown. This MMA fighting stuff and this, and look, you start veering in to the Andrew Tate stuff, which is dangerous misogyny and, assault issues and all of that. But there's a peripheral side of that is not criminal, but is still going down the same road of saying you got a place to belong.
Yeah. All right. So he says you're lumped in if you like MMA fighting. That's a dangerous trait to have.
Well,
I mean, like he kind of goes, he escalates it as in, hey, if you get down to this road, you know you're going to dark places if you like MMA. Like that's his line in the sand that you should never cross.
It's wild to me because like he wants to say, oh, MMA fighters, and then he's like, oh, the Tates. Well, the Tates are bad people. I get it, but they are not they're not representative of what young men think. They're able to take advantage of that situation because of the atmosphere that has been created by telling young men that they're toxic, that they're bad, that they need to take a back seat. So they, when you do that, you open up the door to these bad actors like the Tates. And
let me just put this out. If you want to throw names out for the different parties, I would argue that the Andrew Tates are nowhere near as bad as the Jeffrey Epsteins to the Democrats. So maybe if you're going out there and just going to name names, you should realize very quickly that some of your biggest supporters over the years aren't really the most upstanding people either. But then again, I don't think Andrew Tate's ever been out there to speak in front of the Republican National Convention. But let's go back. Well, keep in mind too, Bill Clinton is a big part of the Democratic Party too, and he's got his definitely problems in his past, similar to what Andrew Tate is facing. Let's just put it that way. So that's Tim Walz, and he says he understands that young men are looking to belong to something, so they got into this cult that is, Republican Donald Trump MAGA stuff. Is that kind of the argument he's making? And to his point that let's put it this way: if he's going to have a revelation over this, maybe the revelation is you've pushed away so many different people in your party. What you stand now for are the 20% issues, and you're upset because the majority is on the other side, and you're saying, no, you're the ones that are wrong when you're the 80% and then the right. Maybe that's what's going on. Is that possibly it's some of the regrets of their strategies, his unpopular nature maybe plays into it?
Yeah.
I know Tim Walz kept going, but I don't know if it's really necessary to play more. I think we pretty much
you don't need any more Tim Walz? That guy, man, he just won't go away.
What's he doing nowadays? I guess a special guest on MSNBC.
Governoring. I think he's still the governor up there in Minnesota.
Just living in regret. Do you think he texts Kamala Harris at night? We could have had it all, baby. he's drunk and angry. You just punched a hole in the drywall. We could have had it all. You and me, babe. Maybe not. We got another hour of the Manny Fry Show coming up. And one other thing that stockpiling Bitcoin or stockpiling bullets, what's the better strategy for the United States of America? We want to talk about that. And go vote in the YouTube poll. It would be really good for you to maybe give some of your hesitations about artificial intelligence, or maybe you're all on board. You like to go to your AI and ask it a question and you get the answer, deep searching things. Maybe you like the convenience of it. We'll get some of those poll results next hour, too, at 97.1 FM Talk.
There's something special about the Dittamore Group, and I want to connect you with them. You're looking to list your home, and you're not 100% sure where's the best place to go. It's the Dittamore Group, and I can tell you, as the number one team and the number one office in the Metro East, their reputation speaks for themselves. First and foremost, they're great people, but they know how to get the job done. Probably because they've got 50-plus years of experience at the Dittamore Group. You can call them directly at 618-531-4652. That's 618-531-4652. They work in Illinois and they work in Missouri, and they have an extensive knowledge of each market that they are working in, and they are going to work their tail off for you. So if you want honesty, integrity, and top-notch sales, you want the Dittamore Group. If you're looking to list your home or if you're looking to buy your home, reach out to Tammy, Zach, Pat, Abby, and Trisha at the Dittamore Group at 618-531-4652. 618-531-4652. TheDittamoregroup.com.
Do you ever wonder if you've saved enough money to retire? Well, you can find out how you can make your money go a lot further in retirement in a 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. Hey, it's Sue Thomas, and this is a one-night class. It's taught by a fiduciary advisor from Financial and Tax Architects. They have decades of financial planning experience, and they hold these at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis. You will learn about reducing your taxes, maximizing your Social Security income, paying for health care, all of it. And there's no cost. Just bring 3 canned goods for St. Louis Crisis Nursery. Now, there are a handful of openings for the classes this month and next. Just register by calling 314-947-2012. 314-947-2012. It's the Sue Thomas number, 314-947-2012.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon for the Doctors at Ophthalmology Associates. We call them the Doctors because they've treated more than 250 doctors, more than any other practice in St. Louis. So if you're looking for the best doctors for your best vision, it's Ophthalmology Associates. Doctors Greg Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Brusati, and Andy Royer. Doctors Birdie and Malhotra are cornea surgeons and experts in the diagnosis and treatment of diseases of the eye. I had an eye disease when I was younger. It left me with a silicone buckle around my right eye, so I put my trust in Ophthalmology Associates to take care of my annual checkups. Maybe you're experiencing dry eye, allergy eyes. They can help. They can help with cataracts, macular degeneration, glaucoma, and LASIK surgeries. And if you're looking for the best eye care, it's Ophthalmology Associates. Make an appointment today by calling 314-966-5000 or online at youridoc.com. They have a great office location just west of 270 on Manchester Road. Again, the phone number, 314-966-5000. The website, youridoc.com. Ophthalmology Associates.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
The first of many expected charges on Lisa Brady, Fox News, for the man accused in a fiery attack on a pro-Israel march in Colorado.
The U.S. Attorney's Office for Colorado is now charging the Boulder burning attack suspect with a federal hate crime. The filing says 45-year-old Mohammed Sabri Solomon was in possession of at least 14 undetonated Molotov cocktails and that he intentionally looked up the Jewish group that conducted Sunday's march in support of hostages still being held by Gazan terrorists, and that he plotted the attack for a year. Solomon remained at the scene after burning at least 8 victims, chanting things such as Free Palestine. He's already being held on $10 million bond and is facing a slew of state charges.
Fox's Evan Brown. Solomon is due in court later this hour. President Trump calls the attack horrific and says it will not be tolerated, also criticizing Biden border policies in a Truth Social post. Immigration officials say the suspect is Egyptian and was in the U.S. illegally after overstaying a visa. Immigration and Customs Enforcement says just in May in Massachusetts, nearly 1,500 people were arrested, its largest operation to date, about half of them convicted or accused of crimes.
But ICE says nearly half of them are convicted criminals, like these 2 men from El Salvador. ICE says one was wanted for murder, kidnapping, and robbery, and the other, a convicted child rapist who, listen to this, was living next to a playground outside of Boston, according to police.
Fox's Alexis McAdams. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons accusing so-called sanctuary cities of making the arrest more dangerous by releasing suspects instead of cooperating. The Massachusetts governor accuses the Trump administration of spreading fear, also taking issue with the detention of an 18-year-old high school student whose visa had expired. Lyons says that student's father was the target. America is listening to Fox News.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Tons of sunshine across St. Louis on this Monday afternoon. It's a warm one, 88 for the high, but you have to expect that this time of year. Going into summertime tonight, partly cloudy, 80s this evening, 67 for the low. Tuesday, partly sunny, breezy. It's a little warmer. It's a little more humid. 91 on Tuesday with developing showers and thunderstorms late Tuesday night, continuing Wednesday and Thursday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Homeowners, spring is here, and there's no better time to sell your St. Louis home. But the agent you choose matters. Who should you call? My friend and trusted realtor, Gloria Liu, your home sold guaranteed realty. Hey, it's Mark Cox. Here's why Gloria should be your first call. While the average realtor puts a sign in your yard and hopes it sells, Gloria will guarantee to sell your home for 100% of market value, or Gloria will pay you the difference. In this market, you don't want to risk working with someone who doesn't have the guarantees, buyers, or experience to help you sell within your time frame and for the most money. Many realtors will overprice your home to get your business, which can lead to your home sitting on the market with little or no offers and price reductions. If you want to sell your home for 100% of market value, or Gloria will pay you the difference, call Gloria Liu today at 314-325-6888 or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. That's GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Guys, it's time to take charge of your health with my friends at Victory Men's Health. Mark Cox here. I already love what they do at Victory. They do hormone optimization, sexual health, weight loss, even vitamin deficiencies. Now they're offering specialty cardiovascular testing and even early detection cancer screening. Visit them at one of their 4 great locations, now in Sunset Hills, Town and Country, O'Fallon, Missouri, and O'Fallon, Illinois. Tell them Mark Cox sent you. Go to victorymenshealth.com.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Oh, yeah, it is the moment you have been waiting for.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom.
Annie's out. Ryan and Brad are in.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
This is the Manny Fry Show.
Welcome back. I'm Ryan Recker for another hour with you. Should probably go online, hop on that YouTube poll. Brad, I saw you took the comments down off the screen.
I forgot to put them back up there. Oh, there's a ton of comments coming in. I just forgot to put them back up. Yeah, I took them down for the interview with Ryan Schmelz, and I forgot to put them up since then.
Oh, I got you. I didn't know if there was questionable things going on.
Actually, I got a lot of comments on the polls.
Good. Okay.
How many
polls?
I got about 12 of them.
Are we up to?
Votes.
Votes.
143, so...
Let's get that number up.
Rookie numbers, man.
Those are rookie numbers. Yeah. I don't know. I know that's from something. I just don't know what.
Is that Wolf of Wall Street? You got to pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers.
Oh, well, I know the meme. I've never seen that movie, though. So I see the meme, and it's Matthew McConaughey yelling it or something like that. So the question's on artificial intelligence. Where do you see it going? Are you scared? Are you happy? Do you like the idea that if you're like, okay, now take this picture and add a puppy to it? That's like the future of AI. And you can do things like that now. And what's amazing to me is, I've been following artificial intelligence for a while, and the ability to just freely manipulate things now is amazing, because the hassle you had to go through just a couple of years ago to get any of that done, it was a huge ordeal. But now it's like it's just integrated into your social media or your desktop. You can go to a search bar and get whatever you want. It's amazing. Do you generate photos or anything like that?
Every now and then, just goofy stuff. If I think of a funny situation or a guest brings up a funny situation, sometimes I'll see if Grok or ChatGPT can generate that photo.
And I remember coming on this show and playing the artificial intelligent music and how it was just like shocking how good it was.
Yeah. So I use it every day. I use artificial intelligence every day. From getting ideas for titling things. Fun fact, the phrasing of today's YouTube poll, I thought this would be a fun little Easter egg. I used ChatGPT to create the poll. I wanted a poll about AI, and so I used ChatGPT to do it. So this is a poll about the future of AI by AI.
Isn't that amazing?
I also use it like whenever, I don't know, if you follow or you subscribe to the Annie Fry Show YouTube channel, we create shorts and reels and stuff like that of different highlights of the show. I use an AI video editing software that helps create those. So there's a lot of good stuff that can come out of it.
Yeah. Also bad things. Like what the president just came out with a couple of weeks ago. They shouldn't be taking your image and using it for pornographic material, So, and trying to save the hassle that so many people, unfortunately, have been victim of. Man. So there's good and bad that it could be used for, I guess. And it's a wild, wild west on that internet, isn't there?
Yeah.
But artificial intelligence, I saw this one story. It was on Axios and says the two most durable and decisive geopolitical topics in the 2020s are fully emerging into one existential threat: China and AI supremacy. So the fear is that if China has more powerful AI and computer possibilities, computations, whatever it may be, then that would be a huge threat to the United States if they are able to have that leg up. It would be like basically Superman landing in China and you have Superman on your side.
Yeah.
It would, as opposed to the United States having Superman. That's kind of what we're talking about here. This is like you take a world power like China and you're not used to them being in the driver's seat when the United States is around. And here they are. What happens if China takes that driver's seat? What would that look like? That could be scary. It says why it matters. This is the rare belief shared by both President Trump and former President Biden. And virtually every person studying geopolitical chessboard. The Trump's AI czar said in a podcast, All In, there's no question that the armies of the future are going to be drones and robots, and they're going to be AI powered. I would define winning as the whole world consolidates around the American tech stack. So we look at, what was it, Terminator, with the Terminator robots out there.
Skynet,
yeah, all these things. Maybe it wasn't that far-fetched.
No, it's like people have been predicting this for years. It's like, well, then the question always comes to, does AI become self-aware? Does it try to self-preserve? Does it stop seeing humanity as, a group, or does it start seeing humanity as a threat? And if it starts seeing humanity as a threat and all of your military might is controlled by AI, guess what it's going to do?
Yeah. So do you like the idea of robots fighting each other? Do you like our odds if that's the case? I think the United States would do all right.
I was like, I always joke about this. I want the Star Wars robots, the R2-D2s, the BB-8s, the C-3POs that shuffle around. I don't want these Boston Dynamic robots that can do backflips and the, Tesla Optimus robot that's able to dance and do all these other things. I don't want those robots. I want the ones that shuffle and
I wouldn't
roll.
be too concerned too. Like I've seen the videos of like the Cybertrucks where they say they have sensors so it doesn't crush your finger, but it crushes your finger with the automatic trunk that will close down. So I don't know. Sometimes it's just for show, and you've seen the videos of these new vacuum robots that have the little arm on it where they can pick things up and move it out of the way so they can keep vacuuming, and how that's missing. I mean, on a consumer level, if you're going to make it so someone could purchase it in their own home, I understand it's not going to be the same as how it would be applied in a military application, but maybe they got a long way to go. And either way, if you know that they are building these things, don't you want the United States to be the leader in it? Like, I don't want any other country to have better robot fighters than we do.
Yeah, no, I don't either. I think the United States needs to be at the forefront of that. I mean, I feel that way about any military asset, though. It's like I want to have the best tanks. I want to have the best fighter planes, the bombers. So, yeah, if we're going military robots and drones, I want the best of those, too.
So do we fast forward 25 years from now and there's like what's that wiener's name? Tim Walz. And there's like people like Tim Walz, and he's out there ranting on TV things like, all these boys want to do is see these robots fight. All these, and fill in the blank conservative type of politician. Oh, we want to just see these loser boys feel like they're in on something, and it's robots fighting. Like, are we going to just at one point turn it into our entertainment as opposed to our military defense? Could it lean that way too?
Man, I almost feel like it'd be both, wouldn't it? That there will be fighting robots, and there will also be, like, what is that movie with Hugh Jackman, Real Steel?
Yeah.
There'll
So you're
be
saying,
that, like, but
basically you're saying we would invade a country for our entertainment so we can live stream robots fighting other robots?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we will have like robot boxing leagues, where they're a red robot and a blue robot, and you punch one and the head goes up in the air.
Yes, exactly. Just like that game. And you know how Mattel would have a Battleship movie coming out? So they got these other like game properties that you've played when you were younger that they're making into big motion pictures, but in real life, they're just making giant robots that knock each other's heads up. Then you got to have another robot come and push it back down. So they can
It's
reset.
like, all right, we know who won. Let's reset.
Set it back up to that. The other thing is there's this other story, and this is the Sun, so it's not really like the Sun is looked at as like I don't know, a National Enquirer kind of thing. But then again, National Enquirer every once in a while has real pieces in there. It says fears AI will leave Earth with population the size of UK by 2300 and turn entire country. This is into ghost lands, is what they're saying. So scientists fear AI would turn world's major populations into apocalyptic ghost towns. And that means the world's greatest cities like New York and London will become deserted as AI will replace everything, and there'll be no need to live in close population to each other. They say an estimation, Age of Artificial Intelligence author who works for Oklahoma State University told The Sun, computers or robots will never be conscious, but they will be doing literally all that we do because most of what we do in our lives can be replaced. So is that the fear? Not that they're going to go out there fight and, turn on humanity like Terminator, that we're going to become self-conscious, but the bigger fear is that robots will be made in such a way where we're just obsolete. So we just let them do our dirty work and we sit and eat Cheetos all day and watch soap operas.
I mean, this is a possibility, but I'm curious of that article because it says it would reduce the population. Why would the population reduce?
It says there would be struggling that the world population would collapse and would go as low as 100 million people on the entire planet. I took that as the world would collapse, meaning that, let's say robots do take over or whatever it is. How would people be able to compete with that if they can't make money? So people just die off. Essentially, people would not be able to, unless you know how to go farm and you could be self-sustainable. If you can't go get a job and you have no money, then what's going to happen? If people in societies collapse and people die.
Yeah.
Could be something like that.
But, and you think about that, and it's like, well, the people that are trying to make the money, they need consumers. So it makes me wonder, like, where is that line? I think that what ends up happening is you strike an equilibrium between employees and automated resources as employees or, as your workforce. You can't have a workforce that's entirely automated because then at some point you won't have anybody to sell your product to because there'll be nobody to buy your product because nobody's got a job and earning money. I think, I worry about that, but man, it just seems like there's something naturally built in where you would just strike a balance where it's like, okay, this is how much automated workforce we can have without collapsing society, and this is how much, actual people working that we need to have. And I don't know. I don't worry about that as much as I do AI, flipping out and turning on us.
Well, I know there's people that got their concerns on the YouTube poll, so we'll read some of those comments coming up later in the hour. And if you haven't already voted, are we at least up to 150 votes yet? I hope we're past that point.
We're just past 150. We're 151.
All right, we got to get that up to 200. On Friday we got up to 200. I'd like to see us get to 200 again. That would be good. But if you're not on the YouTube page right now and voting for this sort of thing, just do it real quick. And you can see all the comments as they splash up on the screen, the brand new Annie Fry video feed screen, which is really cool. One other thing, Jamie, is it Dimon? So basically what Jamie was arguing is in the future, we talk about AI, but a big part of it is cryptocurrency and blockchain and how we organize things, banking. There's a big question about what that looks like in the future when it comes to fiat, which is like physical money versus digital currencies. And you have the United States that is looking into Bitcoin and making large purchases. You have other companies making large purchases of Bitcoin. I was a GameStop just bought a ton of Bitcoin. I know that Tesla and some of these other companies, they've invested into this Bitcoin and they're riding it, and it's riding high because the demand for this thing is really high. But it could also disappear and no one could find it valuable in the future. You'd be holding on to something that's worth nothing, which they argued the same thing could happen to the American dollar. But still, they're saying instead of stockpiling on cryptocurrencies, maybe we should stockpile other things. Fight us. Let's say the robots come looking for us. We're going to need other things to fight off the robots. Can we play clip number 3?
Well, you said something that struck me earlier. We should be stockpiling. What did you say?
I said not Bitcoins, but bullets, tanks, missiles. Because you pointed out national security is a critical thing. So the most important thing to me in trade is going to be protecting our own national security. And that's around resilient supply chains for medical ingredients, for anything that goes into our F-35 rare earths, and related. Think of 2 nanocentimeter AI chips, things like that. We say, yeah, this is important for American national security. We need resilient supply chains, and then we have to do things to help the military, which is we don't keep productive capability empty. So all of us do that in our businesses, but their missile capability, they have, I forgot the number, they have a plant building missiles, but if you have the double or triple production, we don't have a plant sitting there ready to go.
Okay. He makes a pretty good point, doesn't he? I mean, we have the strategic oil reserves for just that very thing. We can't be without our oil. That would be very damaging for us. And, there's other things we stockpile as a country. So maybe we should be stockpiling more of those things. Didn't Obama buy a bunch of bullets too? I mean, they were stockpiling on that too. So I think there might still be some around. I'm not sure. I think that he makes a pretty good point. And I think about, for the most part, my own personal habits. You ever feel the need to stockpile things? You ever have those type of urges as an individual?
Yeah.
What kind of things do you stockpile when that happens?
Bullets, for one.
Okay, that's good.
Because I remember during COVID, between bullets and toilet paper, you couldn't find either one. And if you found any of them, you were paying outrageous prices for it. And so,
you mean 2025 prices for?
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, and so I was like, you know what, not going to do that again. I'm going to stack them, and it's something that doesn't really expire and stuff like that. So you do that. Have a couple months supply worth of food. I stack that stuff too. So yeah, you stock up on it so that you at least have time to react and adjust, and it provides that buffer whenever things change.
Yeah. And this is what my wife will go through. She'll go through the ebbs and flows. So she'll read a book that's like a post-apocalyptic type of book. And she'll be like, get the motivation after that book to go buy a bunch of things. And you know what she says in that? And this is so funny. She's like, whenever I read these books, I learn one thing. If you have a family, listen to your husband, because all bad things happen when you don't listen to your husband in a post-apocalyptic world.
Yes.
I said, yes. And, keep in mind, these are female writers and things too. It's not like it's a bunch of guys writing these books. But I said, you know what? There's a lot of truth when it comes to times of like extreme stress or disaster. You got to have someone in the lead that is taking control of the situation. You got to listen to them, because that's the only way. If you start splintering, you're in trouble. You ever look around at your neighbors and say, if I had to combine forces, I'd pick that neighbor. Like if we had to create a team,
yes,
that's the house I'd want to create it with.
It's who's the neighbor that is going to be your best ally. Yes, I do that.
Yeah,
oh, man, I do that a lot.
You think about those things. Yeah, I look down the neighborhood and I'll say, yeah, he'd be a good one to team up with. Man, and then what the disappointment would be if they didn't want to team up with you. And you're like,
do you ever look down and do see the opposite? You're like, ooh, not that person. No.
Oh, she's a goner. She'd be like the first person we raid as a team.
We're going to take her stuff.
She's so gone. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to find in there. A bunch of cat food, but still, we can use it, I guess. It's not going to be bullets and medicine. Well, there might be some prescriptions in there, but yeah, you're scoping out the neighborhood, and you have Home Alone map. where you're like putting like X's on the homes.
You and that one neighbor have a zip line between your houses.
Zip line communication. Yeah, we immediately start building a tunnel into our basements can be connected in case of emergency, a fast exit.
Yeah.
Oh, there's all kinds of possibilities there. So, okay, stockpile bullets. You as an individual cannot stockpile a tank.
No.
If you do, I'll tell you that
No, you can't.
I don't know how you can get away with it other than, for example, saying it's decorative for parades.
I think it has to be rendered unfireable. You you have to have an unfireable barrel on it or something like that.
Oh, okay, but then you can just go get a tank at Tanks R Us.
No,
you know the story about the killdozer? You ever hear that, Sky?
Yes.
What a story. Maybe we got to go to break.
I've heard that story, though. It's deep. There's a lot to that story.
There is. I don't know if I have enough to talk about it, as in, I don't know all the details, but immediately after the show today, I think I might go watch a documentary on it because it was such a great story. It's something else. Oh, boy. The government can push people too far, like that movie Falling Down, and sometimes people act in a certain way to get vengeance. All right, when we come back, did you hear what Bill Clinton said about Joe Biden? This is kind of good. Not good in a good way, good in an entertaining way. We'll talk about that coming up. And have you heard of autism reveal parties? Well, apparently they're a thing. We're going to get to that, too. I'm Ryan Recker filling in, 97.1 FM Talk.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show. The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Air Comfort Service wants to make sure that everybody in the area knows that they are here with you as people are recovering from storms. There's so much storm damage around the listening audience area here. Air Comfort Service wants to do something to help. My friends at Air Comfort Service want to draw attention to your AC unit. Storms can do a lot of damage to an air conditioner. There are obvious problems like wind damage, power outages, falling trees, even hail can become a major problem. Hail can bend coil fins and restrict airflow, which will keep your air conditioner from running properly. 314-513-0091. That's the number to call the expert technicians at Air Comfort Service. Again, 314-513-0091. Have those expert technicians come out and assess the damage at your home so that you have the information you need to potentially file an insurance claim. They know what they're talking about. They know what to look for, and they will help you prevent lingering issues later on this summer. 314-513-0091, aircomfortservice.com/storm.
You know how you always want to know about everyone else's money? On the podcast What We Spend, guests will, for 1 week, tell us everything they spend their money on.
My son slammed $6 worth of blueberries in 5 minutes.
And everything that makes them feel.
I want to own a house. I want to have a child. But this morning, I really wanted a coffee.
Because at the end of the day, money is always about more than your balance. Listen to and follow What We Spend, an Odyssey original podcast. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is letting everyone know about great debt relief options now available to help people with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of your credit card debt. Get a free debt relief consultation when you call 800-586-4040. 800-586-4040. 800-586-4040.
Here's the hard truth. Every 6 years, your dollar loses half its buying power. That means a $100,000 savings account today could feel like $50,000 by 2031. And you see it every time you fill up your tank, buy groceries, or pay the bills. Prices are up. Your dollar is down. But there's a simple way to protect the value of your savings with something real, something proven. Gold, an asset that holds its value over time. That's why I trust Noble Gold Investments. They make it simple to protect your savings offerings with physical gold or silver. No high-pressure sales, no call centers. Just honest guidance, one-on-one support, and transparent pricing. And right now, when you open a qualified account, Noble Gold will send you a free 10-ounce silver American flag bar as a thank you. Head to noblegoldinvestments.com today to learn more. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Time to schedule your air conditioner service. Get your entire HVAC system checked for $19 a month with the preferred partner plan and be ready for the first heat wave. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Is anyone in the comments talking about the killdozer? Anyone mention that? It's so crazy, that story.
I haven't seen anybody mention it.
All right. Let me just say, it is definitely worth your time. Anyone that's listening that does not know the story, to look up. There's got to be just documentaries about it out there. Was it in Colorado or someplace like that?
Something like that, yeah. Like, what would drive a man to do that? And then you start digging in and you go, oh, yeah, I understand.
Their city hall and all that really mess with this dude. So just to give the gist of the story and make sure I get this right, he devised a plan to create a tank in his garage over the course of probably years. And then he went on a rampage and just destroyed a bunch of businesses in the town. He went into like these, the city hall and some of these other places just to destroy because he looked at it as they destroyed him. So he's going to destroy them.
He had some sort of, it was like dispute over what he could do on his own property.
Yeah. And he said, well, I guess we're doing this then. And he went all in to say, okay, mutual destruction, I guess. So that that documentary. Let me go to a story in The Hill. This is completely different, but former President Bill Clinton said in a Sunday interview he thought former President Joe Biden was, quote, in good shape when they spoke recently. In an interview, Clinton said he did not read the book Original Sin about the cover-up. And he said, no, I thought he was a good president. The only concern I thought he had to deal with was, could anybody do that job until they were 86? End quote. So his concern was, you weren't old yet, Joe Biden, but you were going to get old if you won. So this would have been a hard thing to do. Bill Clinton, are you kidding me?
Man.
What do you think's going to happen to all these Democrats that have enabled and concealed the true nature of Joe Biden's health all these years? Like the people that were allegedly close to him, all these cabinet members, people that were out there surrogates for him, the ones that said he was young and spry. What's going to happen to all of these liars that are just out there wanting to run for office again? I think of like Pete Buttigieg comes to example, or Kamala Harris, them. Do they even have a chance after what we know now?
I mean, they have a fervent base, so there's always a chance. But man, you look at this and you say, you've got kind of two options here if you're Pete Buttigieg. One of them is, I lied to you. I knew everything that was going on, and I lied to you so that we could maintain power. Or the other one is, I couldn't tell that something was wrong. They kept it from me. So when everybody and their brother looks at this and they go, hey, something's up here, and the best you got is, I couldn't tell, then you're going to look completely unfit for office in that manner. Like, you don't have a lot of good options here because you decided to go all in on this Joe Biden is fine and we will prop him up and run the government our own selves while he's on the beach in Delaware,
Yeah, he was on that beach a lot, and what are people saying? And one thing that was speculated, he was on the beach so often, going back home visiting because of medical treatment, but that was never hashed out, was it? I don't think they were able to necessarily pin that as the answer, but that could be one of the explanations. I don't think we should definitely weigh that out just yet. But we got to think about this in a very realistic way, because there were some very serious questions about his cognitive decline. I think a lot of people saw it well before that debate. I mean, I saw it during the election. I knew that he was definitely having issues, and some people continued to cover for it because they said it's in poor taste to bring it up. What was that one clip? Let me find that real quick. Was it Jake Tapper? This is clip number 4. This may be one of the biggest lies I think Jake Tapper has ever told his entire life. Do we play clip 4?
Jake, I would like to ask you, do you think that the media would have gotten this story sooner if it was Trump?
I don't, actually, because these issues of health are so sensitive to talk about and to report. And as you say, yes, we saw weird moments of Joe Biden. We also see weird moments, and they're different. They're not the same issue. They're not acuity issues, but we see weird moments of Donald Trump.
It's
wild. Do you think he's telling the truth there? So the whole question is, hey, if this were Donald Trump and we saw these things, do you think that there would have the media would have given him a pass, or do you think they would have covered it up for him? They said, oh, of course, yeah, because they act like they would have acted the same with Donald Trump that they did with Joe Biden. Now that is such a lie.
Yeah, no, it's a huge lie. And do you remember the controversy of Donald Trump whenever he walked down the ramp and he needed to hold somebody's arm? And they're like, clearly this is somebody in decline. He's shuffling, blah, blah, blah. Do you remember whenever he drank the water bottle? What did he do with it?
He used
two hands or something. He drank the water bottle, and people are like, oh, that's cognitive decline. You see people talking about his posture and how he kind of leans forward. So I'm like, oh, no. That's some sort of medical issue. They have never, ever, ever, ever hesitated to point something out like that. Not with Donald Trump. Yeah. They've never hesitated to do it. Jake Tapper is off his rocker here. I think he's lying to save face. I think he's trying to, in defending how they would handle Trump, he's trying to save face on how they handled Biden. He's like, oh, no, these medical things are very sensitive. No, you don't care about that. You were covering for a guy who was a Democrat because y'all are Democrats and you're towing the party line. It was better to have Joe Biden in your brain, a declining, falling apart Joe Biden. It was better to have him in than it is to have Donald Trump back in. That was their mindset. And so they were going to, defend Biden and hide it come hell or high water.
Do you think part of their rebellion right now is that they're not going to be able to collect the favors that they gave to this presidency? So I think in a lot of ways, these networks, they do solids to the administration. Like, let's say they don't cover this about Joe Biden. They notice this, but they decide not to air it. They don't do the Hunter Biden laptop. They don't do this, or they'll just so they can get a glimpse or a chance to interview someone at the right time. So they're the network that breaks something. Like they put all of these different, okay, you scratch our back, I'll scratch your back type of deals. And they buddy up to the Biden administration in hopes not to upset them, because then at any given time, they'll be given away, they'll lose their access to the White House. And then in the end, they look at it and they say, we did all these favors for Joe Biden and look where it got us. Like it was not worth it. So they're a little bit bitter that all the time they invested into sucking up to Joe Biden and knowingly covering up these things were basically for nothing. And now with Donald Trump in the office, it's the complete opposite. And they're going to get punished for lies because Donald Trump has already got George Stephanopoulos paying for one. And now you have the second pay that's going to be coming up here soon for 60 Minutes or whatever it was. So do you think perhaps part of this, the reason they're coming out and they're not afraid to criticize Joe Biden, is not necessarily because he's not in power, but because they didn't get the favors they were promised into hiding it to begin with?
No, I think part of it is they're trying to save face and restore their own legitimacy. I think it's too little too late, but I think that's really what they're trying to do. They wanted to cover, they wanted to make sure that Joe Biden would last his entire presidency, that he wouldn't get, 25th Amendmented, where they wouldn't pull that out on him and remove him from office. Because honestly, if we are honest, that's what should have happened.
Yeah. That would have been a serious consideration.
Because, you've got Russia and Ukraine on the brink of war, one of which is a nuclear power. and let's say Russia or Ukraine did something like this and Russia responds with a nuclear weapon, do you want Joe Biden getting that phone call at 3 a.m. saying, hey, guess what happened? We need you to lead now. Do you trust Joe Biden to lead you in those situations? They were basically crossing their fingers and hoping nothing horrible went down and that he wouldn't actually be put to the test. He had no business being president. None whatsoever.
I'm going to say this, and you can tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 how right this statement is, okay? Because sometimes we have to look at it on a grading scale. There was a certain point during the Biden administration that he just stopped getting calls, and the calls went to someone else who was making the decision, and Biden wasn't aware enough to realize that they stopped calling him for important things. Do you think that's possible?
Yeah,
on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most likely.
Not only do I think it's possible, I think it's accurate. I think it's likely. I think it's probably true. The question is was there a point, or was that just the way it was from the beginning? I mean, you were talking about, people were talking about his decline, really early on in his presidency. I remember listening to Brian Kilmeade's show while the Democratic primary was going on, and Joe Biden was polling really low, couldn't get any ground. And he never did get any ground until everybody jumped out of the race magically. Mm-hmm. But he's like, he can't keep going. He's in decline. His brain isn't there. He's got to drop out, right? Everybody was calling it then. I don't know if he was ever getting the phone calls.
So in all things considered, if there was a decision that normally the president would have to make, someone else was taking that call.
Yes, absolutely. I think somebody
on his
was.
behalf.
I definitely think somebody was.
All right, good. This really needs to be unpacked even further. All of this chain, and before I remember the auto pen accusations came out, and now we're starting to realize more and more just how often it was used. Mm-hmm. And I know they're going to investigate it. I remember asking people questions like, "Can anything ever be proven or done if an auto pen was used?" But you realize the nefarious use of it, and even to the point of pardons and things. And what does that mean for the people who are pardoned if it wasn't coming from the president, who didn't even know some of these people? What does that mean? We'll have to unpack that again coming up sometime soon, because I know we don't got a lot of time, but I know we have our poll question. Hopefully we're getting closer to 200, Brad.
We're creeping up there.
Got to get to the YouTube page and vote now, because it's going to be over here in like 10 minutes. So make sure to get onto the YouTube page, go vote. And the question for the YouTube page, again, it's AI, artificial intelligence, in its future. Does it scare you? Do you love it? Are you all in? Are you all out? Are you living off the grid? Have you looked at AI and cursed it, or have you kissed it because like you have an AI girlfriend or something? So let's go and vote now, and we'll read those comments coming up in a little bit. Before we go to break, we'll do this after the break. How about, have you heard the big TikTok trends, the autism reveal party? My wife turned me on to this trend on social media. I said, there's no way people are doing this. And apparently they are. Man. So I want to talk about this after the break before we get to the poll question. Let's do that. I'm Ryan Recker filling in. And by the way, it's exactly what you think it is based on that title. And it's just as, I don't want to use the word sad. It's just as weird as you think it is. You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. I'm Ryan Recker filling in 97.1 FM Talk.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show.
Half my life's in books, written pages.
Step outside and fall in love with your backyard again. From inviting porch overhangs to durable composite decks and cozy screen rooms, Lakeside Renovation and Design creates stunning outdoor living spaces designed for relaxation, entertaining, and making memories. With expert craftsmanship and top-quality materials, your new outdoor oasis will be perfect for every season. Call Lakeside Renovation and Design today or visit lakesiderd.com to get started. Let's turn your backyard into the retreat you've always dreamed of.
If you or someone you know suffered any injuries involving a deployed airbag, you could be entitled to compensation. Morgan & Morgan has already recovered millions. Get America's largest injury law firm fighting for you.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Today's YouTube live chat poll. What's your take on AI in the future? Are you excited? Are you cautiously optimistic? Does it scare you? I got a couple comments here. Pleasant Ridge says, AI will be the downfall of society as we know it. You think the media has lied to the public before? Hold on to your hat. But Jackie has a little bit different take. She says, cautiously optimistic. For tech and finance, I'm excited about what we're utilizing and what is to come. Overall, as Brett Weinstein would say, we have passed the event horizon, and she's wary. So what that means is we've gone very far, and there's no going back from where we are. So we want to know what you think. Jump on our poll. This is your last chance to vote. YouTube.com/@AnnieFry. Vote in the poll. Tell us what you think is the future of AI. Are you excited, cautiously optimistic, or does it scare you? The time is 2:43, and this time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Hey, good afternoon. Mark Reardon getting ready here for a Monday show. Fred is back after a week off. I may or may not have a new addition to my household, and a CNN anchor gets completely schooled on the trans athlete topic. It's all coming up after Fox News. Hang in there.
Annie's out, Ryan and Brad are in. This is the Manny Fry Show. Interact with Annie on Facebook. The Annie Fry Show.
You got to be getting pretty close to 200. I'm hoping in those poll question answers. Are we at least at Are we at least at 175?
Oh, we're at 178.
Okay, we're close. Go vote now on the YouTube poll and go see the comments. If you haven't seen the new poll comments that are right there, that's really cool looking. Good way to interact with the show. We're looking at some of these different cover-ups when it comes to Biden and Bill Clinton. Can you do a Bill Clinton impersonation? I think most people can do one, right?
Let's see if I can.
Yeah, he was in good shape.
Yeah, if you get the lip bite right, I think you can get it. So he's like, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Ms. Lewinsky.
With that AI chat. I did not text that AI chat pictures of myself. Wouldn't that be something to get a hold of a politician's chat with AI?
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Hold on.
Oh, boy. I don't know if I'd want to. And it'd be like, and Joe Biden would use it like Google. Where can I find ice cream? Closest ice cream. It'd be like just 1, 2, 3 words like that. Like he's trying to search for something on Google. One of the trends on social media that really is strange to me is the idea that there's autism reveal parties. Now, before I sent you this clip, Brad, did you know this existed?
No, I had no idea. When you sent me the clip, I was like, okay, what's this about? And then I watched the clip and I was like, is this real? Is this? But it's not the only one. You've seen?
No, there's a lot of examples, and it's all on TikTok. So maybe that tells you something about TikTok as a basically a generator of this type of content. So you know how there's gender reveal parties. So couples will, when they're about to have a baby, will put on some sort of party to tease if they're going to have a boy and girl. And you show up to the party, and sometimes they pop a balloon. If it's pink, it's a girl, and if it's blue, it's a boy. Or they cut into a cake, or probably more the cooler gender reveal parties I've seen. I saw a guy rent a wrestling ring, and he had 2 wrestlers fighting in their backyard. And one was like wearing pink and one was wearing blue. And whoever won the match indicated if it was a boy or girl. Now that is awesome.
Yeah.
People do stuff like that. Now, autism reveal parties are a little bit different. It's a party where they get all their friends together and reveal if the testing they received to see if they're autistic, it came back if they are on the spectrum or not.
No. Why? I think the answer, like, is the answer to that always yes?
Yes, the answer is always yes. If you're asking the question, the answer is yes. You are on.
Like, I'm going to have this party. What will it be? Like, if I'm looking at that, I'm like, I'm not having a party over this.
You want to hear? Let's play one of them so you can kind of get an idea how this goes.
Okay.
I can tell you There's parts of the party where it's like, okay, did you really need to reveal this? Oh, let's go to clip number 11 here.
I threw an autism reveal party to find out if I'm autistic. After my friends made me pay $2,000 for an official assessment, I hid the results inside a piñata without looking at them. Then I invited everyone over and told them to dress according to what they thought the results were. Wear blue if I'm on the spectrum, or pink if I'm just creepy. Hey, Cole, what the fuck is this, man?
Why blue? Probably because all the puzzles. Because I've known you for 10 years. I think you're going to beat the allegations.
I think it's definitely the puzzles. It was time for the moment of truth. The piñata noises were a little bit too loud, so I got my headphones and started over. Plot twist, before I put the results inside, I had them turned into a 300-piece puzzle for the ultimate climactic reveal. I thought it'd be fun for everyone to do it as a group, but then decided I'd rather do it by myself in another room. After 30 minutes of assembling, gluing, and framing, the results were in.
Based on this evaluation, it was determined that Mr. Hirsch meets criteria for autism spectrum.
Oh, boy. They're chanting autism at the end. They're chanting that. So let's just recap what happened during that video. He created his test results into puzzle form, and then he thought his friends would like to help him build the puzzle to reveal the results. And then he said, you know what? This would be more fun if I go into the room and do it by myself alone.
Man.
Did you really need to put the puzzle together to figure this out? All right, Brad. What about at the end, all of their buddies chanting autism to their buddy? Like, if you were invited to this, tell me you wouldn't feel a little weird being at that
If I'm invited to that, I'm not going. I'm not going. I'm not doing that. That's weird. That's incredibly
You're telling me
weird.
if Ryan Wiggins was holding an autism reveal party, you wouldn't go to it?
You're right. I wouldn't go to it. But I wouldn't go to anything that Ryan invited me to.
To be fair.
Let's be honest. You know, he's like, hey, do you want it? No. No, Ryan's great.
So,
but yeah, no, this is.
Well, he's not so great if you talk to Ethan. He doesn't even put his name in the intro. So.
Well, Ryan put my name in the intro, so I don't have that same beef with him.
Oh, you're cool. Yeah.
He put your name in there too.
That is pretty good. But he meant it for him, as I later found out. I was a little dense at first and didn't quite get that. It was meant for like when he's in here. We just happen to share a name. So the guy puts this party together, and I guess at the end he realizes something that he probably already suspected and all of his friends suspected. I like how one of his friends said, I hope you beat the odds, knowing I know the way you behave. If the odds are against you, I hope you beat the odds. Is it a little tacky to do this? Do you think it's offensive in some ways where people are doing this, or do you think it's like just a fun little thing?
I think it can be incredibly insensitive sometimes, because I think there are people out there who, because autism is a spectrum, there are very highly functioning autistic people that are just kind of almost quirky, and then there are people that are actually debilitated by it, where they cannot live on their own. They need help and assistance, and the parents and the families of those people go through a lot of sacrifice to help their loved one through this process. And then you got people out here that's like, oh, I'm quirky, ha ha ha, and make a joke. And I don't know, man. Like I said, I wouldn't go. I don't like it. Part of me thinks that this guy was actually even making fun of it. But
oh, okay. You don't think he was just like didn't understand? Like it basically, for some people on the spectrum don't understand that what they're doing is insensitive.
Well, there were too many little tropes in there that are like almost like, I see what you're doing there. Like where he was like, it was too loud at my party, so I put my headphones on. Little things like that, stereotypes.
He went off stage to get the headphones. Yeah, like it was a reveal. Like this is a gag. My wife was reading some of the comments on one of these videos, and one person said, this is real fun. I'm trying to get my kid to stop eating screws. Like, there's like the severity of what some parents go through dealing with their kids if they have some pretty severe forms. Like, for example, our neighbors, when we were living in St. Louis there, they had 2 children that were autistic, which was a super rare thing to have. 2 biological children both have it. And one was pretty nonverbal and had a lot of behavioral problems where it came to, calming down and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, it's a very serious, difficult thing for a family to get through that. So I can see why videos like that and them making light of it as an adult may be looked at as pretty insensitive. But
yeah.
I'm just shocked there's so many of them out there that are doing this. But this is always adults. It's not parents throwing it for their kids. These are like grown people doing this for their friends of drinking age, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of the game that is being played here. If the person doesn't understand, his friends understand, and his friends need to explain to him, hey, look, let's not do this. Let's not make a big production out of this. If you're worried about this, take your test and read your results, and then we'll talk about it afterwards or something like that. But a party, a piñata, a puzzle.
Yeah. It would be like at work, and if they're saying we're going to have a job reveal party, we're going to come in tomorrow's meeting, and we're going to find out if you still have employment here. It'd be like something like that. What, a job reveal party? And, the boss is thinking that's a fun little thing to do for their staff, right? It would be like that. Okay, not reading the room correctly and that sort of thing.
Right.
All right. Where's Ethan at? Is he going to read some poll results here?
I don't know if he's going to be able to make it in or not. If he can't, I got the results here, and I can read them.
Did we get up to
here
200?
he is. He come bursting through the door like Kramer.
I hear his name. He's like,
yeah. Someone
like
said Ethan.
When I jiggle the treat bag, the dog comes running.
the sound of a cheese wrapper.
Well, yeah, I was going to say the sound of poll results. Ethan comes in. That's how it works.
That's what I do.
Ethan, I'm going to stick up for you, man, until you get your name into that intro.
Well,
I'm on your side.
I appreciate that. The only problem is that there's not really going to be much overlap between you and Ryan Wiggins, and he holds all the power.
I could technically just make a crude edit and just.
Oh my gosh,
that would be amazing.
That would be super.
That
funny.
would be great.
All right, Brad, send me the audio.
Yeah.
All right, you've twisted my arm. I'm in.
We'll get it. We'll just put it in next time Ryan hosts.
That would be really funny. He'd be so ready and excited for his little diss on me to play, and then all of a sudden, bam, psych.
All right, did we get up to 200 votes or not? I'm hoping we did.
We are just under 200 votes today. We're at 190 votes on a Monday afternoon in our YouTube live chat poll. Are we ready for the results?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. 190 votes. What's your take on AI and the future? I'll tell you this much. There's two options that are really close and one that's not. Only 4% said that they're excited.
Okay.
It's very close between the other two. 51% say it scares me. 45% say that they're cautiously optimistic.
Okay. All right.
And that's your YouTube live chat poll.
I understand the cautiously optimistic because there's things in your life that could get better.
Mm-hmm.
Or it can get a lot worse. Like, let's just say hypothetically, policing turns to AI. You're so in trouble, man.
They don't make mistakes.
Everyone's in trouble. Yeah, they don't make mistakes. That scares me. But overall, it could be okay. Well, yeah. Ethan, almost 200 votes. That's a shame.
So
we didn't
close.
Get up to it. Maybe tomorrow.
I'm afraid that once, if that were to happen with cops, like you're going like a mile per hour over the speed limit, and all of a sudden you got a speeding ticket.
Yeah,
that's what I'm fearful of.
Automatically send it to you.
Ryan, where are you at on this poll? How would you vote in this poll?
Cautiously optimistic.
What about you, Ethan?
I think I'm probably on that one as well. If I really had my choice, I'd be somewhere in between the two of them. Because I am a little bit concerned. I'm a little bit scared, but not too scared at this point.
Cautiously, leaning on cautious, optimistic. Yeah,
there it is.
I get that. So.
Are you guys polite with AI? Do you say thank you to it?
No.
I used to do that until
if it gives
they
me
told
a good
you not
answer.
To. I used to do that. Thanks. And they'd say, you're welcome. And then what was it? Like Zuckerberg or someone came out and said, we're wasting millions of dollars a year for people thanking us. Stop thanking AI. It's one extra
That's
prompt
funny.
They don't want. All right. I guess we'll see you guys tomorrow for the Manny Fry Show. I'm Ryan Recker filling in. And you guys have a great one. Mark Reardon coming in next.
Hey, if you're nearing retirement and you're thinking, good grief, I've worked a lot, I've saved a lot, I certainly have sacrificed a lot, I sure hope that everything I've done to prepare